Chapter 1509 Hunt down 3. What's the matter? You couldn't beat the celestial fairy to obtain the 2 Dharma treasures, so now you're taking it out on me. Yi Qingtang put on a mocking look while secretly looking for an escape route. The old man's expression stiffened. Little brat, you can spout whatever nonsense you want. Well, see what else you can say later when I rip out your tongue, the old man said with a cold smile. Then, he suddenly rushed downwards. Yi Qingtang looked at the approaching old man, and her eyes narrowed. She clutched the little white tiger tightly, then jumped down a nearby slope. The slope was not steep. When Yi Qingtang jumped, a lot of rubble came loose and rolled down. Below the slope was a wide, low-lying valley, shrouded by layers of clouds. Yi Qingtang clutched the little white tiger tightly in her arms. As they fell swiftly, many stones hit its furry head. Although it was not that painful, the little white tiger was unable to open its eyes under the bombardment. Fuck, are you jumping to your death here? The little white tiger's acute senses had already perceived that the valley beneath the clouds was filled with thick aura. If we don't jump, we really will die. Yi Qingtang was unusually calm. The old man was at least in the realm of a holy venerate. With her present powers, there was no way she could withstand him. The little white tiger immediately understood what Yi Qingtang meant, but what was below was even more difficult to deal with. A billowing demonic aura mixed with the strong scent of blood obscured all other auras in the valley. At that moment, the old man's only desire was to twist Yi Qingtang's head off, so he flew over in pursuit. Yi Qingtang, who continued to fall, did not know how far she had fallen, but the next second, she crashed into something warm and soft. This feeling was extremely odd. Yi Qingtang felt something sticky under her hand, and there was something soft under her feet that prevented her from standing steadily. A strong scent of blood choked her nostrils, as if forcing all the air out of her lungs. The old man also flew downward. When he landed, his nostrils were similarly filled by the strong scent of blood. There seemed to be something strange amidst the clouds. He frowned slightly. Then, he caught sight of where Yi Qingtang had landed. Suspended in midair, he gathered a powerful beam of light in his hand and released it towards the spot Yi Qingtang had landed. Boom! A resounding crash immediately filtered down from the clouds. The old man secretly smirked coldly. The surrounding scent of blood became a little stronger. The girl was certainly dead. The old man was certain that he had dealt Yi Qingtang a fatal blow. However, before he could fly away from this strange valley, a huge fin from within the valley suddenly broke through the clouds and flew towards the old man, who was about to leave. The fin was so large that it spanned 100 square meters. The old man was suddenly smashed into the mountainside by the huge fish. If not for his great powers, all the bones in his body would have been crushed by the blow. Even so, the force of the blow forced him to sink into the mountainside. Puff! A dreamy, ethereal voice suddenly rang out from within the valley. Amidst the scent of blood, the huge, translucent fin had sliced through the clouds. An extremely thick demonic aura suddenly engulfed the entire valley. As the strange voice rang out, the originally quiet valley was suddenly thrown into turmoil. Big fellow Wen Yi Qingtang was crouching on the soft, sticky heap when the ground beneath her feet suddenly trembled. She hurriedly grabbed the little white tiger and lied down flat against the ground. The next moment, they saw strange points of light appear above their heads. Yi Qingtang subconsciously raised her head to look and saw hundreds of eyes of different sizes 100 meters above her head, opening one by one. Puff! They heard the strange gasping noise again, accompanied by a typhoon that blew towards them. Yi Qingtang had no choice but to once again lie down against the ground beneath her. As the clouds dissipated, Yi Qingtang could finally clearly see the appearance of the ground she was crouching on. It was not spacious earth, but rather, the body of the big demon soaking in copious amounts of blood. The big demon lying on the ground was the one from the frosty snow mountains that everyone was searching for just now. At that moment, half of the big demon's body had been devoured. Shreds of bloodied flesh clung to half of the white bones. The huge skeleton stood on one side of the valley, and Yi Qingtang had been crouching on the big demon's remaining flesh. Yi Qingtang's robes were now soaked by the big demon's blood, but she continued to crouch motionlessly on the pile of bones. The big demon who had dragged the body of the frosty snow mountains demon away was also right before Yi Qingtang's eyes. For the first time, Yi Qingtang saw clearly what a big demon looked like. This big demon was somewhat like a whale, and its head had hundreds of eyes of different sizes. The huge mouth was as wide as the valley. Its entire body was covered with deep blue scales, and it was flanked by many translucent fins. One of the fins had smacked straight into the old man from the second domain. Puff! The big demon's huge mouth slowly cracked open, and it puffed out a turbid breath. The smell of decay mingled with the scent of blood. This casual breath spread out like a typhoon. If Yi Qingtang had not been pressing tightly to the ground, she would have been sent flying. Yi Qingtang had seen the big demon fly through the layers of clouds and had noted the direction in which it left. When the powerful cultivator from the second domain chased after her, she had noticed that the sides of that slope showed signs of being flattened. She had also noticed the blood and flesh buried between the rubble. Yi Qingtang guessed that the big demon might be in this huge valley. She would certainly die if she did not jump. She would probably die if she jumped. So she jumped. The big demon was so utterly powerful that humans like them were no more than insects to it. However, the powerful cultivator from the second domain had been intent on killing her, so he had attacked. But this attack unwittingly provoked the big demon. The old man, who had been smacked into the mountainside by the translucent fin, finally realized there was something deadly hidden in this valley. At that moment, he finally understood why Yi Qingtang had suddenly jumped down here. However, it was too late. The big demon who was eating had been provoked. It let out an unhappy cry, and the fin pinned the old man down. Under the crushing and unrelenting pressure, the surrounding mountains also gave way. Yi Qingtang secretly observed the big demon's reaction and noticed that the big demon's attention was now focused on the old man who had provoked it. She led the little white tiger and slowly used the slippery blood on the body to slide down a little at a time, landing in the dead big demon's abdomen. Chapter 15:11 Big Fellow 2 At that moment, the old man, who was being unrelentingly crushed by the big demon, was still using the qi in his upper body to protect himself. However, he had already spat out a mouthful of blood. He fervently wished he could tear Yi Qingtang into pieces. But at that moment it was nearly impossible to extricate himself from the grasp of the unhappy big demon. The big demon was unimaginably large. The hollowed-out abdomen was as large as a palace. Blood continued to drip from the flesh above, and the earth beneath Yi Qingtang's feet was unusually sticky from being soaked in fresh blood. Yi Qingtang seized the opportunity to escape from the big demon's abdomen with the little white tiger. As for that old man, he was on his own. Yi Qingtang did not care whether the old man lived or died. She hoped the big demon would lose its temper and tear him into pieces. Yi Qingtang walked for a long time through the big demon's abdominal cavity. The smell was nauseating, but Yi Qingtang suddenly thought of something. She took out the dagger she carried on her person and scraped large quantities of the big demon's flesh from the inner walls. Then, she stored them in her space ring. One must know that the big demon's flesh and blood were extremely valuable. Every small amount was a treasure greatly desired by many martial arts cultivators. When this big demon's body was taken away, everyone had given up hope. Yi Qingtang had not thought about it, but she had unexpectedly managed to obtain some flesh while the big demon was dealing with the old man. But the smell in the big demon's body was truly intolerable, especially for the little white tiger, who had an extremely sharp sense of smell. The stench almost caused it to faint. When Yi Qingtang saw that the little white tiger could not stand it any longer, she simply pinched its nose shut so that it would be easier for the little white tiger to bear. But the moment it opened its mouth to breathe, a drop of the big demon's blood dripped into the little white tiger's mouth. This really caused the little white tiger to shudder. Before Yi Qingtang could react, the little white tiger directly bit off a large piece of big demon's flesh from the inner walls and swallowed it. The big demon's flesh was beneficial to fiend celestial beasts, just as it was to martial arts cultivators. The little white tiger's skills had not advanced for a long time. The power in the big demon's flesh was just what it needed. So the girl and the beast busied themselves in the big demon's abdomen. Yi Qingtang scraped off large quantities of flesh, and the little white tiger seized the opportunity to munch on it. Before long, they heard a dull noise outside, and the big demon's body began to sway. "Let's go." Yi Qingtang grabbed hold of the little white tiger, who had been eating happily, and flew towards the light. No matter how valuable the big demon's body was, it was not worth dying for. The big demon's attention was now on the old man. But once he was dead, the big demon would soon discover the two of them, which it had overlooked, partaking of its victory spoils. They would be doomed. Yi Qingtang did not know whether the old man was alive, so she swiftly ran out of the big demon's body with the little white tiger in tow. From afar, she could see a patch of dust rising behind her, but could not clearly see what was going on. Yi Qingtang did not dare to remain any longer. She clutched the little white tiger tightly and swiftly clambered up the side of the valley. As they exited the valley, its interior was rocked by a huge tremor. Yi Qingtang saw the whale-like large demon flying through the clouds, gripping the other big demon's body in its mouth. Large amounts of blood fell, and it looked as though it would fill up the valley. Chapter 15 Big Fellow 3 Yi Qingtang sighed in relief after the big demon flew into the clouds. "Yi Qingtang, you're here." Yi Qingtang suddenly heard someone shout her name. Jiang Qin and the rest were looking for Yi Qingtang for a while. They came over when they heard the noise and were shocked by the big demon, but their eyes brightened when they saw Yi Qingtang, who was covered with blood. It was such a coincidence. Yi Qingtang did not expect that she would encounter any danger when she just managed to escape from the previous one. Her eyes darkened when she saw Jiang Qin and the few disciples of the Jiang family behind her. "Yi Qingtang, you have lived long enough. Today will be the day of your death." Jiang Qin sneered. "Don't bother looking for Jiang Sun anymore. He's dragged by my elder brother now. Prepare for your death now. You're so kind to Yi Yu." Yi Qingtang chuckled. She had nothing to do with Jiang Qin, but everything was due to Yi Yu. "You're not even comparable to Yu Er. If you behaved yourself, I could still spare your life. But you didn't know your place here and kept disturbing Yu Er's life. I will not allow that to happen anymore." Jiang Qin narrowed her eyes and took a glimpse at the Jiang family disciples behind her. "Only when you're dead will Yu Er be relieved." The moment Jiang Qin finished her words, the few disciples dashed towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang understood that she could not fight against them. She carried the little white tiger and flew away immediately. "It's not going to be easy for you to escape today. Go after her. I want her dead today," Jiang Qin said coldly. A few shadows dashed into midair. Yi Qingtang's face was still covered by sticky blood, but now, she could not be bothered by that anymore. She was now certain that Jiang Qin wanted her dead. If it was a one-to-one fight, Yi Qingtang might still have a chance to beat the disciples. However, her opponents outnumbered her, and they obviously did not want her to be alive today. Yi Qingtang could only look ahead and try to speed up as much as she could. Suddenly, a familiar voice came out from Yi Qingtang's pocket. "Head towards the southeast." Ling Yan's voice came from the voice transmission stone in her pocket. Yi Qingtang was stunned for a second. She took a glance at the people chasing behind her and changed her direction immediately without question. She flew towards the direction Ling Yan specified. After a short while, Yi Qingtang saw an area among the forests in the land of infinite demons that was surrounded by heavy fog. Under the fog that even extended to the sky, there seemed to be no end. She could sense a strange aura from inside. That's the forbidden area of the land of infinite demons? Yi Qingtang looked towards the foggy area. She could feel the demonic air coming out from the fog even though she was not close to the place. You're right. As long as you enter that place, your dilemma can be solved. Ling Yan's voice was calm. It was as if he knew the entire situation and could see Yi Qingtang right in front of him. Yi Qingtang was silent. She had never been to the land of infinite demons in her previous life, not mentioning the forbidden area. However, Yi Qingtang took a deep breath secretly as the disciples got closer. She hugged the little white tiger and dashed into the fog-covered area. Chapter 15:13 The Forbidden Place of Infinite Demons. One people of the Jiang family were stunned when they saw Yi Qingtang enter the fog-covered area. They did not follow her and stopped right outside. Is this the forbidden land? One of the men glanced at the heavy fog in front of him. The fog seemed to separate the inner area from the outer perimeter, forming a forbidden zone. The forbidden land of infinite demons was the place that all forces tried to avoid when they came to the land of infinite demons. No one knew what was in the forbidden land, but everyone was clear that no one had made it out alive from it before. Many powerful figures had come over after hearing about the forbidden land. Even the big demons and demon kings wanted to enter this place to discover its secrets. However, those figures were not seen again after they entered the forbidden land. There was a slight chance of survival in the land of infinite demons. There was absolutely no chance of survival in the forbidden land. The disciples of the Jiang family felt now. They did not expect that Yi Qingtang would dare to enter the forbidden land. What should we do now? They exchanged glances with each other. It's been a few thousand years since someone entered the forbidden land. A young man frowned and said. They heard about how dangerous it was in the forbidden area, but those legends were from a few thousand or even 10,000 years ago. According to the legends, the forbidden land was extremely dangerous, but it contained even more treasures. If they could kill Yi Qingtang inside and bring back treasures, they would definitely be rewarded. A few of the disciples had visited the land of infinite demons a few times before and were confident with their abilities. If they could figure out the secret of the forbidden place, they might even have the chance to enter the elder cabinet of the Jiang family. After some hesitation, an ambitious young man entered the fog. Sometimes, ambition and greed would bury one's fear. The rest of the disciples had the same thought. They would not be able to explain themselves if they did not kill Yi Qingtang. All of them entered the fog immediately. Jiang Qin arrived at the place a little later and witnessed those disciples entering the fog. She froze on the spot and wanted to stop them. But it was too late. Only vague outlines could be seen in the heavy, humid fog. Yi Qingtang felt strange after she dashed into the fog with the little white tiger. The humidity in the fog was in contact with the big demon's blood on her body, causing the blood that was almost dry to become thick and sticky again. She could also feel the coldness along with the humidity, and her teeth began trembling under the cold. Although she had to escape, Yi Qingtang slowed down under the thick fog as she could not see anything. Ling Yan, Yi Qingtang took out the voice transmission stone instinctively and wanted to get some clues from Ling Yan. However, Yi Qingtang realized that the spirit energy in the voice transmission stone dispersed when she held the stone in her hand. It was just a cold and normal stone now. What she said just now was not transmitted, and there was no response from Ling Yan. Chapter 15:14 The Forbidden Place of Infinite Demons 2. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. She could sense something strange in the fog. The gray fog seemed to be mixed with many white and black clouds that appeared like cotton. However, there was no tangible feeling on touch, it was more like condensed smoke. There are some peculiar things in the fog. I'm afraid that your voice transmission stone cannot be used here. The little white tiger lied in Yi Qingtang's arms and moved its whiskers. Its nose was uncomfortable from the cold air in the fog. Yi Qingtang was confused, but Ling Yan must have his reasons when he told her to enter the place. While Yi Qingtang was pondering, she heard some voices and footsteps behind her. They actually followed me here. Yi Qingtang was surprised. Before they came to the land of infinite demons, Jiang Shangyu reminded them many times that no one could enter the forbidden land. She had no choice, but those people. Are they seeking death here? They really want to have themselves killed. Yi Qingtang did not want to stay at where she was. She increased her speed as she carried the little white tiger. Yi Qingtang could feel something crawling below her feet, and the crawling sound constantly reached her ears. She looked downwards instinctively and saw countless hair-like black strings intertwined together. It looked like normal, dark ground at first glance, but at a closer look, the black strings were constantly crawling. The black strings crawled between each other but avoided the area where Yi Qingtang was standing at. The string stopped when she stepped down, but once she lifted her feet, the strings would start moving again. Yi Qingtang did not know what the strings were. She instinctively wanted to get away from them and decided to jump into midair. However, she felt something cold brushing across her face when she was just 1 meter above the ground. She looked up immediately. Millions of black strings were hanging down on top of her. They intertwined with each other and brushed across Yi Qingtang's face like human hair. The strings crawled slightly as they were in contact with her face. Yi Qingtang's whole body was filled with goosebumps. She instantly chose to remain on the ground as she could not see where the strings came from in the heavy fog. The moment she landed on the ground, she heard some horrifying screams coming from a few meters away. Yi Qingtang recognized this voice. It belonged to one of the disciples of the Jiang family who followed Jiang Qin previously. Before Yi Qingtang could figure out what was going on, a few figures rushed forward behind her miserably. Yi Qingtang could see the situation clearly this time. The disciples of the Jiang family who chased her in order to kill her now ran forward with their eyes wide open. It was as if they had encountered ghosts as their faces were all pale. As they ran, the black strings on the ground appeared to be alive and crawled onto their legs. They tried to run to get rid of the strings, but there were more strings crawling onto their bodies. Yi Qingtang took a glimpse behind her and saw a disciple of the Jiang family near the entrance, shouting desperately and trying to crawl forward on the ground. Chapter 15:15 The Forbidden Place of Infinite Demons 3 That handsome face was now covered by countless black strings, which pierced through his skin from his temples and crawled under his skin to fill the entire face. Blood spurted out from his face. Besides his face, all of his exposed skin was pierced through by the black strings. His entire body seemed distorted. Large amounts of blood spurted out from the wounds, yet the black strings seemed to be excited by the blood and rushed into his body crazily. Swoosh! An ear-piercing sound suddenly rang out. Yi Qingtang witnessed the man being skinned by the black strings. He stretched his hand out for help but to no avail. A skinless, bloody man was dragged out onto the ground almost instantly and was totally buried by the black strings. A full piece of human skin was left behind together with the groans that were getting softer and softer. After seeing a man being skinned alive, Yi Qingtang felt that it was colder in the surroundings. Before Yi Qingtang could recover her senses, the black strings suddenly rushed towards the skin and filled up the entire skin. Yi Qingtang decided not to stay here anymore. Though she did not know why the black strings did not attack her, at the moment. It was better to leave this place now. Yi Qingtang ran forward with the little white tiger in her arms. She constantly paid attention to the black strings under her feet to check whether they were going to attack her. However, the black strings did not seem to be interested in her and did not move much. Yi Qing Tang could see some light in front of her, and she sped up and dashed out of the fog. The scene she saw right after shocked her deeply. The disciples who managed to come out of the fog now lied on the ground. There were 3 bear-like monsters with distorted faces, and they bent their heads and dragged the internal organs out from the abdomens of those disciples. The most terrifying fact was that those disciples were not dead yet. Their limbs were fractured, and bones were nailed onto the ground to restrict their movements. They opened their eyes wide and witnessed their own organs being dragged out and eaten by the 3 monsters. The pain and fear really drove them crazy. "Bas, bastard, let go," one of the disciples cursed in pain. But before he could finish his words, his jaw was crushed by one of the monsters. Blood flowed out, but he was still alive and could only bear with the torture that was worse than death. One of the disciples from the Jiang family seemed to escape from the torture by sheer luck. He shivered and fell to the ground, terrified by the hell-like scene in front of him. Their ambition and greed were totally crushed by the constant torture now. They should have known this. The horror of the Forbidden Land did not just exist in the legends, yet, they still chose to ignore it. It was impossible for them to escape anymore. The man who was not noticed by the 3 monsters by luck could not bear with what he saw anymore. He escaped into the fog in fear, trying to look for a way out. Chapter 15-16 Absolute Death 1. However, the moment he stepped into the fog, the white and black clouds of cotton suddenly rushed into his body from his mouth, nose, and ears. His body was filled out, and then he exploded in front of Yi Qing Tang. His flesh and organs splashed onto the ground. Yi Qing Tang, who wanted to retreat from the same path, now totally gave up on that thought. She felt that the fog was peculiar, yet now. It seemed normal when they first entered, but it would kill them if they tried to re-enter from the inside of the Forbidden Land. Yi Qing Tang was not sure whether her guess was correct, but she did not have a life to spare to confirm her thoughts. The sky above her head was covered by the fog. The voice transmission stone was not working, and there were 3 monsters consuming human organs. Yi Qing Tang really felt that she was on the path to death. Those disciples of the Jiang family finished their last breath and lied flat on the ground. Death just helped them to break free from the torture. However, the moment they died, the 3 monsters who were eating the organs suddenly seemed to lose interest in the dead food. They immediately threw away the unfinished organs in their hands and looked for new prey around. They landed their sight on the only 2 alive creatures there. Yi Qing Tang and the little white tiger. Yi Qing Tang stared at the malicious monsters. Though she had not fought with them yet, she could feel that these monsters' abilities were above the Holy Venerate stage. Their abilities were definitely not questionable since they could survive in such a horrifying forbidden place. Fighting against 3 Holy Venerate stage monsters. Yi Qing Tang was definitely not capable of that. When Yi Qing Tang thought she and the little white tiger might die here today, the 3 monsters seemed to be able to tell what she was thinking and walked slowly towards her. Yi Qing Tang felt a cold sweat on her forehead. She secretly stimulated all energy in her body to find a chance of survival. A stream of hot air came out from the monsters' noses. Yi Qing Tang was about to use all her strength to fight them as they walked over. However, the 3 monsters surrounded her up and did not have any intention to attack her. They just sniffed around her body. It seemed like they were trying to probe and sense. "Did they treat us as kin because of the blood of the big demon on our body?" the little white tiger murmured after seeing that the 3 malicious monsters did not attack them immediately. Yi Qing Tang did not dare to let her guard down, but she had the same thought. Previously, she felt strange when the black strings did not attack her. Now, the 3 monsters also did not seem to want to attack her. Yi Qing Tang looked at the big demon's blood on her and the little white tiger's body. The little white tiger's assumption might be true. The big demon and the monsters should be of the same clan. They must be familiar with the big demon's smell and have treated her as the same creature. Yi Qingtang probed and took a step forward with the assumption in mind. The three monsters did not intend to attack or stop her. They just followed her by her feet and continued to sniff. Yi Qingtang sighed in relief secretly and tried to walk forward. The three monsters just followed behind her slowly. They walked with four legs and lifted up their heads to sniff. Chapter 15-17 Absolute Death 2. After walking for about 10 meters, Yi Qingtang suddenly stopped and turned back. The three monsters also stopped. They lifted up their heads and opened their round eyes to stare at her in a silly way. Yi Qingtang suddenly felt that they really treated her as the same kind of creature. The three monsters shook their heads to look at Yi Qingtang. They used their noses to sniff her. The smell of blood was strong and familiar, but beneath the blood, they smelled something that was even more familiar. The smell belonged to the same type of creature as them. Oink! The largest monster used its giant nose to push Yi Qingtang's back as she did not walk forward anymore. Though it did not use much strength, the force from a 10-meter-tall monster almost pushed Yi Qingtang to the ground. The monster was asking her to walk forward. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched slightly. She had complicated emotions as she stared at the monsters who stood in a line behind her. Yi Qingtang was content with her situation when she saw the disciples of the Jiang family with their stomachs ripped open. Yi Qingtang could not help but choose to carry on walking. She felt lucky that her body was stained with the big demon's blood and that she did not have time to wash it away. Otherwise, she would end up in the same situation as the disciples of the Jiang family. After walking forward for a while, Yi Qingtang saw many bones around her. These people were dead for more than 1,000 years. She could see mountain ridges in front of her, but they looked dim now. Though Yi Qingtang did not see other living creatures, she could sense many pairs of eyes staring at her in the dark. Is it because of the three monsters? That's why those creatures in the dark didn't come out. Yi Qingtang was confused as she glanced at the three monsters following behind her. The little white tiger in her arms also glanced around. It suddenly seemed to recall something and said, "These three are the demonic bears, demonic bear." Yi Qingtang was slightly shocked when she heard the name. The demonic bear was a type of demon. Yi Qingtang heard about them in her previous life that they were malicious and liked to consume all types of creatures. However, they only ate their prey when they were still alive. Once the prey died, the demonic bears would abandon them. According to the legends, the demonic bear was the most loyal servant of the demons. They had huge strength and thick skin, and they would become big demons after living for 100,000 years. They were extremely ferocious but had low intelligence. They were always loyal servants. Yi Qingtang looked at the three demonic bears behind her. Based on their sizes, they were still young, maybe only about 10,000 years old. The youngest might only be a few thousand years old. The demonic bear would undergo a huge change when it reached 30,000 years. Its body would increase by 10 times in size. This change would happen again at 50, 80, and 100,000 years. Eventually, it would become a big demon that could smash half of a mainland with one paw. Yi Qingtang looked at the three silly and honest demonic bears. There were some differences between them and the drawings, but she could not tell exactly. Yi Qingtang was still at the border of the Forbidden Land. It was definitely not the most dangerous place, but the bones that were scattered on the ground revealed how many people had died here. The strange black strings in the fog terrified Yi Qingtang. She could not even tell what the origin of the black strings was. She could only remember the human skin that was filled up by the black strings. Chapter 15-18 Absolute Death 3 Yi Qingtang walked forward with caution. She saw a broken ridge under a giant waterfall. Water flowed across the broken ridge. The area had been weathered by wind and snow over the years, revealing now only a tattered image of its former glory. Yi Qingtang walked over slightly and saw some strange characters on a tablet. She had never seen those characters before. While Yi Qingtang wanted to spend some time to figure out the words, she suddenly heard some noises. "Fuck off. We wouldn't be stuck here if not because of you." A roar suddenly rang. The tone was really fierce, but the voice sounded so pure and innocent that it totally changed the intention of the sentence. "There are other people here." Yi Qingtang's heart rate increased. She immediately led the little white tiger and the 3 demonic bears towards where the voice came from. It seemed that the voice came behind the waterfall. Yi Qingtang climbed across the mess and dashed into the waterfall. She was really curious about the origin of the voice. She was still being cautious and entered from the side. She then hid in the dark. Yi Qingtang stood in the dark and looked towards the huge cave behind the waterfall with the light reflected from the water. She was shocked by what she saw. In the dim cave, there was a group of children, who all looked very young. The oldest might only be 5 or 6 years old, the rest looked like 2-year-old toddlers who just learned how to walk. There was even a baby who looked like he was just born. He lied on some broken clothes and waved his chubby limbs. What is this situation? Yi Qingtang was astonished by the group of children here. How can there be so many children in the forbidden land of infinite demons? They can barely walk. The shrine was just there. Why did you have to destroy it? You're the reason why we are all trapped here. The pure but fierce voice came out again. Yi Qingtang looked over and saw a 3 or 4-year-old child staring at another child in rage. The angry child had pure red hair. He had a murderous look in his eyes, and he appeared to be ferocious and frowned. However, the expression on such a cute child really looked amusing. The child who was scolded took a glimpse at the red-haired child. He had long and black hair that reached his shoulder. He folded his chubby hands in front of his chest and used his big eyes to look at the red-haired child with contempt. He spoke in a mature tone with his innocent voice. "Did I ask you to come in? You." The red-haired child was so angry that his face was swollen. He raised his fist and swung at the black-haired child. The rest of the children stared at the fight calmly. Their expressions looked way beyond their age. Chapter 15-19 Age Reversal Curse 1 Emperor Yan, just stop already. Haven't you fought enough? Seeing that the red-headed child was about to punch again, another child hurriedly ran over with his short legs and hugged the red-headed child from the back. "Get away from me, Fu Su. I will beat you up if you utter one more piece of bullshit." The red-headed child had a vicious look on his face. "All you do is beat people up. Do you think that only you know how to do that? I was already annoyed with you back when we were in the second domain. Watch how I'm going to beat you up real hard today." A chubby child frowned deeply at the red-headed child's bluster and slammed his round fists onto his head. The red-headed child was dumbfounded for a moment, but in the next second, he lost all control and pushed away Fu Su, who was hugging his waist. Leaping with his short legs, the child lunged at the chubby child. The two children, both who could not even reach Yi Qingtang's thigh, were in a brawl in no time. "Xiong Yan, don't think I'm afraid of you just because you're big. Back in the second domain, you caused trouble for me time and again. I'm going to skin you today." Furious shouts escaped the mouths of those two fellows continuously as though a life-and-death battle was about to happen in the next second. Yet in reality, all Yi Qingtang saw was two kids hugging each other and rolling around until they were covered in mud. Watching the fight, Yi Qingtang was speechless. Apart from those two, there were still a few other kids in the cave who seemed to have some grudges with each other and were awfully busy with fighting each other from the start. The other children, on the other hand, were calm, and there were even two children who sat on the floor, drew a simple chessboard on the ground, and played chess using rocks. The indifferent child who was hollered at by the redhead was standing aside with an impatient look as he looked at the chaotic sight. The child known as Fu Su shook off the mud on his body. With a helpless expression, he walked to the child beside him. Jiang Yu, although Emperor Yan is not nice with his words, there is nothing wrong with what he said. You kneeled at that temple for thousands of years to pray to the gods to revive your dead wife. But why must you destroy that temple after kneeling for thousands of years? The child who was called Jiang Yu frowned slightly with a deep gaze. The gods deceived me. Why can't I destroy this temple that lies to everyone? Back then, I heard that as long as I kneeled in the temple and prayed earnestly, the gods would show kindness and revive my wife. However, I kneeled for thousands of years, and my wife's corpse has already turned into skeletons, yet there was still not a single sign of the gods' advent. Why can't I destroy such a ridiculous place? Yi Qingtang, who was hidden in the dark, heard every word that Jiang Yu said. And the words Jiang Yu left Yi Qingtang dumbstruck instantly. Jiang Yu? Isn't that the name of the Jiang family's domain monarch founder? Yi Qingtang was surprised. Subsequently, she thought of the names of the children that were called out earlier on. Emperor Yan, Xiong Yan, Fu Su. Yi Qingtang had gone to the second domain before in her previous life and had naturally heard rumors related to the second domain. The names of these three people were that of the supreme powerful figures widely known in the second domain. Moreover, Emperor Yan was even the domain monarch of the second domain thousands of years ago. Chapter 15:20 Age Reversal Curse 2 What is going on? Yi Qingtang was utterly shocked by the sight before her. Her eyes swept across the small children with old facial features, and a shocking thought emerged in her mind suddenly. It had already been more than 10,000 years since Jiang Yu left the Jiang family. Furthermore, Jiang Yu and his wife were very in love, and after his wife passed, he suffered an extremely huge blow and left the Jiang family not long later. The members of the Jiang family believed that Jiang Yu had ascended to the second domain, but now, Yi Qingtang could not help but doubt this rumor. Just as Yi Qingtang was overwhelmed with surprise, a well-built kid walked toward Jiang Yu with his hands behind his back and looked at him with a slight frown. Jiang Yu, no matter whether you agree or not, your destruction of the temple angered the gods and caused the gods to lay a barrier and curse to this forbidden area. We have been trapped within this barrier for thousands of years and are cursed with the age reversal curse. If this goes on, I'm afraid that in a few years' time, we will also turn from children into nothing just like the Eternal Emperor and the others. Age reversal curse. A trace of astonishment hit Yi Qingtang when she heard that term. The age reversal curse was a curse of the gods. The gods placed this curse on those who offended the gods, and anyone who was cursed would degenerate in the opposite direction as compared to normal people, regardless of how old or powerful they were. Even a white-haired elderly would change into a young baby in less than 100 years under the age reversal curse. This curse that was almost similar to returning to one's youth seemed extremely tempting. However, with sufficient martial realm, a cultivator's life could be extended indefinitely, and living over millions of years was not an issue. Yet, the age reversal curse would put an end to a cultivator's life. A person's age would decrease continuously, and they would grow from old age to midlife to youth and subsequently to childhood. Once they turned into an infant, they were not far from death. Furthermore, a cultivator's skill would decline alongside his degeneration. Yi Qingtang looked in shock at the old children and finally understood why she was so astounded. According to their conversation, Yi Qingtang vaguely guessed some clues. Jiang Yu was the Jiang family's domain monarch founder, and after the death of his wife, he heard that a temple in the land of infinite demons could bring his wife back to life. Thus, he kneeled and prayed in that temple for thousands of years in hopes of gaining sympathy from the gods. Nonetheless, thousands of years of sincere prayer failed to exchange for the gods' compassion. Enraged, Jiang Yu destroyed the temple, which inadvertently angered the gods. The gods then laid a curse to this forbidden land and turned this place into a true forbidden land. Emperor Yan and the rest probably entered this forbidden land during that period of time, were cursed with the age reversal curse by the gods, and were sealed behind the waterfall by the barrier. The once supreme and dominant powerful figures were now, however, trapped within this barrier while bearing the age reversal curse, where they slowly degenerated from tall and mighty figures into little children who only reached Yi Qingtang's thighs. Yi Qingtang glanced at the pile of tattered clothes within the barrier. It seemed that over the years, many powerful figures had already degenerated into infancy and then into nothing. Chapter 1521 Age Reversal Curse 3 No wonder, people called this place a forbidden land where one will face absolute death. Yi Qingtang organized the rough clues and finally understood the situation before her. It was likely that ever since this group of powerful figures disappeared, this forbidden land was feared in the mainland as a place of absolute death, and no one dared to enter it. Even if a fearless person entered it by coincidence, he would probably be killed at the border by the Black Lines and demons, thus making it simply impossible to reach this place, much less learn about Jiang Ye's situation. After understanding everything, Yi Qingtang was extremely conflicted as she looked at the group of children before her. The powerful figures of various territories in the past are a bunch of kids now. Who can believe it if this news is spread around? Damn it! I have been locked in here for thousands of years. Why do I not see any juniors from my clan coming to rescue me? A child furrowed his brows like an old man and grunted. My hair has already turned white from the weight. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched as she looked silently at the little kid with baby hair. And he's still waiting for people to rescue him. Over the thousands of years, this place had long become forbidden to enter. If the Jiang family people were not after her life, she would never run into this damn place no matter what. Ah Chu, just as Yi Qingtang was observing secretly, the leader of the 3 demonic bears that had been following her sneezed after being drenched in water. The clear sound reverberated in the cave for a long time. For a moment, all the children stopped whatever they were doing, and they uniformly looked at the corner that they ignored before. Yi Qingtang was exposed before these supreme powerful figures, just like that. The group of powerful figures, who had not seen an outside person for a long time, suddenly saw 3 young demonic bears and a slim lady whose body was dripping with blood. Yi Qingtang instinctively wanted to escape. She had just turned around and was about to run away when Emperor Yan, who was the most aggressive one earlier on, kicked Xiong Yan away and bolted to the edge of the array formation. Stretching his stubby hand out, he shouted furiously. Stop right there. This holler seemed to be full of force, but it came out from the mouth of a 4-year-old kid and sounded extremely childlike and soft. Before Emperor Yan could put on an imposing manner, he was kicked to a side by another child. The child who kicked Emperor Yan looked at Yi Qingtang with a serious expression immediately. Junior, please stay. Don't be long-winded. Little girl, release me if you don't wish to die. Emperor Yan, who was kicked, had a fierce look on his young face. Yi Qingtang glanced at the adorably fierce kid that was Emperor Yan. Really? Not scary at all. Strangely gives one the urge to squish his cheeks. Junior, we have been trapped here for a long time. Can we trouble you to close this boundary so that we can get out? Not everyone put on airs from before like Emperor Yan. Some powerful figures understood the situation clearly and asked politely. Are you all locked here by the gods? Yi Qingtang voiced her previous guess. The children nodded. Jiang Yu destroyed the temple back then. The gods were furious and laid a curse on this area and trapped us within this boundary. The truth was not far off from Yi Qingtang's guess. All of these people were locked within the boundary by the gods and were cursed with the age reversal curse. Chapter 1522 10,000 Years 1 I'm afraid I'm unable to break open the boundary the gods laid, Yi Qingtang said. So many of them were supreme powerful figures and could not do a thing about this boundary. What could she, someone at the arcane supremacy 8th heaven, do? That's not true. This boundary cannot be opened from the inside but is easily opened from the outside. You can look at the waterfall behind you. In the depths of the water under the waterfall, there is a boundary stone left behind by the gods. As long as you destroy it, this boundary will disappear, Fu Su said. The powerful figures wanted to puke blood at just the thought of the way to close this boundary. Even a middle-aged man with no martial background could easily destroy that boundary stone, but helplessly, all of them were trapped within the boundary and simply could not get out. Over these 10,000 years, they were always waiting for someone to enter this place to break the boundary stone and return them their freedom. But after 10,000 years of waiting, Yi Qingtang was the only human they saw. You all are locked here by the gods, Yi Qingtang said suddenly. Yes. The people did not really understand her. The gods locked you all here as a punishment. If I let you all out, won't the gods lock me in together as well? Yi Qingtang spoke slowly while looking at them. She did not expect to meet this group of people here, and the reason why she did not leave immediately was because first, she was curious, second, the Jiang family's domain monarch founder, Jiang Yu, was among this group of people. Yi Qingtang's current situation in the Jiang family was far from optimistic. Although the current domain monarch was impartial, there were many nasty characters in the Jiang family, and Jiang Lang and Moe probably would not have an easy life. In contrast, Jiang Yu was the most revered senior of the Jiang family. If she could rescue him out. Who are Jiang Qin and Jiang Shangyu compared to the founder? Won't they still need to yield obediently? Although Yi Qingtang did wish to rescue Jiang Yu, she did not show it right now. Anyway, her clothes were tainted red from the great demon's blood, and the Jiang family's totem could not be seen. Don't worry. The gods left after locking us here. Otherwise, we would not have been able to live until now. Everyone explained immediately in fear that Yi Qingtang would really abandon them. Are you all speaking the truth? Yi Qingtang put on a suspicious front. Absolutely. The group nodded. But even if the gods left, this place is also filled with danger everywhere, Yi Qingtang spoke slowly. Before Yi Qingtang finished her sentence, Emperor Yan frowned and said, so long-winded. Forget it if you don't dare. You just need to tell my subordinates that I am here, and they will naturally come. Emperor Yan had a look of impatience. Yet, Yi Qingtang poured cold water on Emperor Yan. Even if I told them, I reckon they won't dare to enter. What do you mean? Emperor Yan furrowed his brows. How long have you all been here? Yi Qingtang asked him back instead of answering. Emperor Yan evidently lost all his patience and did not reply to Yi Qingtang after taking a glance at her. Rather, it was Jiang Yu who replied slowly. It has already been 10,000 years. Yi Qingtang replied. 10,000 years. Do you all know what this place is right now? Obviously the sacred land in the land of infinite demons. Yi Qingtang was silent. 10,000 years ago, this place may be the sacred land in the land of infinite demons where many powerful figures fought. But now, this place has become the forbidden area in the land of infinite demons, and almost no one dares to lay foot in it. I guess this place has turned into a cursed area because of the god's curse, and anyone who entered basically died without exception. Even if I let out the news that you all are here, I'm afraid no one will dare to enter. Yi Qingtang explained earnestly. Chapter 1523 10,000 Years 2 Little girl, don't lie to us. You're merely at arcane supremacy 8th heaven. You dare to enter this place, so why wouldn't other people? Xiong Yan scoffed. If I wasn't being hunted down by people and had no other choice but to escape into this place, I would never step in here, Yi Qingtang said. Everyone noticed that Yi Qingtang was covered in blood, and she did look like she was just in a fierce battle. After thinking about how not a single soul appeared here throughout the past 10,000 years, the masses had their suspicions. We have been trapped here for a long time. If you can help us to break that boundary stone, we will definitely remember your favor, Fu Su said with a smile. It should be known that all of them were once extremely influential rulers, and countless people wanted to enter their forces. How precious would it be if one could gain a favor from these powerful figures? Sorry, I am still being hunted down by people and have no relations with you all. I've no intention to interfere in such matters and will take my leave first. Yi Qingtang acted as though she did not wish to be nosy and immediately turned around, wanting to leave. Everyone immediately became anxious when they saw that the savior they had waited 10,000 years for was about to slip away. Only this one person came after 10,000 years of waiting. Furthermore, if this place really did turn into a forbidden area as this girl had explained, wouldn't it be harder for people to come here? They had already degenerated to this stage, and if they still could not find a way to get out, all of them would turn into nothing in 10 years maximum. The group of children who initially put on airs of powerful figures were really anxious now. Wait, you said that you were being hunted down. Perhaps I can help you to get out of your predicament, Fu Su said hurriedly. Yi Qingtang turned around without concealing her sweeping glance at the group of powerful figures, who were barely at her thigh. A tinge of redness tinted their cheeks when in contact with Yi Qingtang's bare gaze. Although we are affected by the curse and have been turned into this state, we still have many Dharma treasures on us that can help you to get out of your predicament. Fu Su explained in more detail. The age reversal curse caused both their bodies and skills to degenerate greatly. A smile emerged in Yi Qingtang's eyes when she heard that. She was waiting for this sentence. However, although that was what Yi Qingtang was thinking, she kept a suspicious look on her face. I haven't met you all before, and I don't even know who you all are. If you all really had such impressive Dharma treasures, why would you all be trapped here for as long as 10,000 years? Don't think of lying to me. The powerful figures were so maddened by Yi Qingtang's words that they almost vomited blood. 10,000 years ago, any one of them was a supreme figure that was highly worshipped by millions of people. Yet now, not only did this little girl not recognize them, she even doubted their skills. No matter how many Dharma treasures we have, it is useless. We already explained very clearly just now that we are simply unable to open this boundary from the inside. Although all of them were proud and arrogant figures, the only one who could rescue them was this person before them. Hence, these powerful figures who were used to acting arrogantly could only speak politely in fear that their only savior would leave. How do I know if what you all said is real? I think you all merely want to cajole me into taking a risk. I'll take my leave first. Yi Qingtang appeared as though she did not trust them and was about to walk away. Chapter 1524 10,000 Years 3 Wait. Fu Zu's complexion changed. Seeing that Yi Qingtang wanted to leave, he instantly replied. If you don't believe us, I'll give you one item right now. You can take a look first before deciding. Only then did Yi Qingtang stop in her tracks. The little white tiger was very speechless. Yi Qingtang truly perfected the skill of profiting from someone's misfortune now. Yi Qingtang giggled on the inside but kept a despising look on the outside. Helpless, Fu Su retrieved a copper ball from his space ring and tossed it out of the boundary. Living things would not be able to pass through this boundary, but non-living things could. Yi Qingtang picked up that copper ball and placed it before her eyes. You're tricking me with this lousy copper ball. Yi Qingtang had a disdainful expression. Fu Su almost fainted from anger. This is the Xianming ball and can absorb the essence in the surroundings. If you carry this item with you, it will also absorb the essence of the world when you cultivate, and the speed of cultivation can be multiplied if you cultivate with it in your palm. Xianming ball. Yi Qingtang really did hear of such a Dharma treasure in her previous life. This was a Dharma treasure that only existed in the second domain, and it was a superior cultivation item that was extremely rare. However, Yi Qingtang had only heard of it in her previous life and had not seen it before. Fu Su was indeed a big shot in the second domain. Any random Dharma treasure he tossed out was a rare superior item. Yi Qingtang laughed on the inside but kept an unmoved expression. I am being hunted down for my life right now. Making it out alive is already an issue for me. Even if you give me this cultivation item, I can't use it right now. Overwhelming hate. Fu Su was furious to death. Emperor Yen could also tell that it was not time for him to put on airs. He immediately waved his hand and took out a cloak from his space ring before tossing it to Yi Qingtang. Don't you just need a way to avoid being killed by others? This is an invisibility cloak. As long as you wear it, no one can sense your breath unless their cultivation realm is 2 entire realms higher than yours. This is enough to protect your life already, right? Yi Qingtang could not help but chuckle internally as she picked up that cloak. The treasures that these big shots took out were truly getting rarer and rarer. How do I know if what you said is real or not? There's no one else here. How do I know if others can sense my presence when I wear this thing? Disbelief filled Yi Qingtang's face. Emperor Yen gritted his teeth in anger. Darn girl. If I wasn't trapped in here, I wouldn't have time to talk so much bullshit with you. You think I'm willing to be nosy with your matters? Since you all are not interested, I'll take my leave first in case I get into unnecessary trouble. Then, Yi Qingtang wanted to leave again. But how could Emperor Yen and the rest be willing to let her leave? Then, the other powerful figures who did not speak much took out plenty of treasures from their space rings and successively tossed it to Yi Qingtang outside the boundary without hesitation. Items were dead already, but humans were alive. All these treasures were useless if they died here. The concealed smile in Yi Qingtang's eyes deepened at the sight of the pile of treasures before her. Seeing that it was about enough, Yi Qingtang frowned and said rather reluctantly, forget it. Seeing that you all are pitiful, I'll help out this one time. As she spoke in a tone as if she suffered a huge loss, she swept all the Dharma treasures on the floor into her space ring with a look of contempt. Yet, any one of those treasures could drive the people in this mainland insane. Chapter 1525 Lost One. Though everyone almost vomited blood by Yi Qingtang's unwilling look, they sighed in relief when she finally decided to lend a hand. Yi Qingtang did not want to waste time here. After the extortion, she put down the little white tiger and walked towards the waterfall. The water under the waterfall was very clear. Yi Qingtang could see a stone filled with moss at the bottom just by standing at the side. That must be the boundary stone. Yi Qingtang then jumped into the water. However, she did not swim down directly. Instead, she waved her arms and legs to splash the water out. It sounded like she was fighting with something. People behind the waterfall could not see what was going on in the water and could only hear some fighting sounds. They heard from Yi Qingtang that this place had become a forbidden area, and now, they were really worried. What if there are really some demons in the water? The little girl's ability is very limited. Those powerful people were a little discontent after Yi Qingtang extorted them, but now they were all worried that their only savior would die in the water. The little white tiger stared at the group of children jumping around by the boundary to try to see what was going on outside the waterfall. It shook its whiskers and saw Yi Qingtang waving her hands and legs calmly in the water. Fake. Keep on faking it. Yi Qingtang greatly exploited the resources of these powerful people. However, if they felt that they were at a loss right now, they might find trouble with her one day in the future when they regained their power. Yi Qingtang could not take that. That was the reason why she chose to act here. The big demon's blood on Yi Qingtang's body dissolved into the water after a while. The clear water was dyed with red, and the big demon's aura also dissolved in it. The boundary cut off everything. Those powerful people did not know where the blood on her body came from. Yi Qingtang acted for a while and then dived into the bottom to break the boundary stone. The moment the boundary stone was broken, the boundary in front of the powerful people for more than 10,000 years finally disappeared. After breathing in the fresh air, they rushed out of the waterfall. When they came out, Yi Qingtang climbed out of the water in an exhausted way. Her whole body was wet, and her blood-stained clothes were ripped. She looked like she had just fought with some demons in the water. They showed some complicated expressions on their faces as they saw how exhausted Yi Qingtang was. They suddenly felt nervous as they sensed the sheer strength of the big demon's aura in the water. There was really a big demon under the water. Yi Qingtang captured everyone's reactions. She used all her strength to stand up and looked at everyone in anger. They were slightly guilty under Yi Qingtang's gaze. They realized that the situation outside the waterfall was totally different from 10,000 years ago. The intense aura of the demon and the heavy fog were not there before. This proved that, as explained earlier on by Yi Qingtang, this place was cursed by God and became a forbidden place. Who told me that it was safe in the water? If the big demon was not attracted by something else, I might have died in the water. Yi Qingtang stared at everyone in rage. She looked like she suffered from some injustice. Chapter 1526 Lost 2 Just now, the powerful figures were still discontent with Yi Qingtang not willing to help after taking advantage of them. Now, they all felt awkward. They had no idea what changed in the world outside. We were trapped here for more than 10,000 years, and none of us knew that the world outside had changed. We're sorry for troubling you today. We owe you this time. Fu Su smiled and said. Now, he felt sorry for the young girl here. Ultimately, she had no relationship with them. Though they gave her many Dharma treasures, if she died here, all the treasures were useless. After being trapped here for 10,000 years, they had seen many other powerful figures disappear in the boundary due to the age reversal curse. They were very clear that all the Dharma treasures they owned would go into the ground after they passed away. As Yi Qingtang stared at everyone in rage, a mature-looking child, whose hands were folded behind his back, suddenly saw the totem on Yi Qingtang's chest. Yi Qingtang was covered in blood previously, and the totem was blurry. But now, the blood was washed away in the water, and the totem revealed itself. The mature-looking child's eyes sparkled with one glance. He then looked towards Jiang Yu, who was staring at Yi Qingtang's totem as well. Jiang Yu frowned slightly but did not say anything. I was unlucky today to meet you here. Alright, since all of you are out, we do not owe each other anything now. It seemed that Yi Qingtang did not want to get involved in their business. She waved to the little white tiger and was about to leave. The group of powerful figures were shocked. The mature-looking child immediately stopped her with a pure voice. Young lady of the Jiang family, please wait. Yi Qingtang was slightly stunned as she did not expect that her identity would be revealed here. She lowered her head and saw that the totem on her chest was quite visible now. She purposely did not reveal her identity, yet she was still spotted. The rest of the powerful figures were shocked for a moment and looked towards Jiang Yu. Besides the mature-looking child and Jiang Yu, the rest of them all came from the second domain. They were not familiar with the Jiang family or the family's totem. Jiang family? She belongs to Jiang Ye's family? An expression of surprise appeared on Xiong Yan's chubby face. The mature-looking child smiled and nodded. Besides the domain monarch Jiang family, who else would have such a totem on the clothes? Jiang Yu, the young lady here is your descendant. Jiang Yu recognized Yi Qingtang's identity as well. A smile filled his eyes. He took a glance at the rest and lifted his chin up slightly. Ultimately, it's the Jiang family that saved everyone. In the past 10,000 years, they blamed him constantly for destroying the shrine and offending the god. However, they were saved by a descendant of the Jiang family in the end. Everyone had complex expressions. They condemned Jiang Yu for his luck secretly. It was surprising that a descendant of the Jiang family would enter this place and save all of them. Who are you? Yi Qingtang pretended that she did not recognize Jiang Yu and looked towards him. I'm Jiang Yu, the past domain monarch of the Jiang family. Have you heard my name before? Yi Qingtang was stunned and pretended to look surprised. You're Jiang Yu, our domain monarch founder. Lost 3. Jiang Yu nodded in contentment. Yi Qingtang's face was filled with disbelief. It's impossible. Our domain monarch founder left the first domain long ago. Do you have any proof? Of course. Jiang family took out the Jiang family domain monarch's golden seal from his space ring and put it in front of Yi Qingtang. The Jiang family domain monarch's golden seal was made with special material and could not be forged. Every generation's domain monarch would have a special one. Once the golden seal left the domain monarch, it would turn into dust. It was impossible for someone to pretend to be the domain monarch. Yi Qingtang pretended to be very surprised when she saw the golden seal. She looked at Jiang Yu again and kneeled down. Domain monarch founder. Jiang Ye's smile deepened. He glanced at the rest of the children proudly. He then lifted up his short arms and said in a mature way, "You can get up." Yes. Yi Qingtang stood up immediately. I'm so lucky to be able to meet you here, domain monarch founder. I entered this place by accident, and I still don't know how to leave here. Please bring me out of here, domain monarch founder. Yi Qingtang showed a miserable expression. The smile on Jiang Ye's face disappeared after he heard her words. If it was 10,000 years ago, with Jiang Ye's ability, he could enter and leave the land of infinite demons freely as long as there was no interference from the god. It would be easy for him even if he needed to bring Yi Qingtang along. But now, Jiang Yu looked at his tiny body and then lifted his head to look at Yi Qingtang's huge body. His lips twitched slightly. His abilities were gone due to the age reversal curse in the past 10,000 years. He could not even fight Yi Qingtang now, not to mention bringing her out of this place. We can talk about this. My abilities are gone due to the age reversal curse. Jiang Ye's voice was softer. Yi Qingtang appeared to be shocked, but she expected this earlier on. She heard about the legend of the age reversal curse. Young lady, since you are part of the Jiang family, you should do your best to help your domain monarch founder. He's still under the influence of the age reversal curse even now. You need to bring him to the shrine and find the holy water to break the curse. Otherwise, he won't live long even though he's out now. It's just changing a place and waiting for death. The mature-looking child explained his intention after witnessing Jiang Yu and Yi Qingtang recognize each other's identity. The boundary was gone but not the curse on them. The shrine. Yi Qingtang recalled the broken shrine she saw on the way here. Yes. As long as we go over and find the holy water, the curse will be broken. The child nodded heavily. Okay. I'll bring our domain monarch founder over now. Yi Qingtang nodded and was about to grab the domain monarch founder's hand. However, before she even stretched her hand out, the rest of the children surrounded her. Since you're going over, bring us all together. The mature-looking child now appeared to be cunning. You can go by yourselves if you want the holy water, Yi Qingtang said. The rest of the children looked at each other awkwardly. They could go over by themselves if it was in the past. However, after suffering from the age reversal curse for 10,000 years, their abilities were all gone. Yi Qingtang was the most powerful person now among everyone there. Chapter 1528 At Ease 1. You also mentioned that this place has become a forbidden area and is full of danger. The shrine has been destroyed for years. We don't dare to go over, Fu Su murmured. His voice was very soft, but his face went pale due to embarrassment. As one of the most powerful and famous people in the second domain, now he needed to rely on a person only at the arcane supremacy stage. He really would not dare to meet others if this was known by everyone. Fu Su voiced everyone's concern. No matter how powerful they were in the past, now, they were just a group of children. If even a tiny demon attacked them, they would not be able to survive. How could they let Yi Qingtang walk away under such a situation? Furthermore, they also noticed that the three young demonic bears seemed to be very close to Yi Qingtang. They followed her by the side and did not intend to attack them. They felt slightly safer now. So, you want me to bring you in? Though Yi Qingtang predicted the outcome, she pretended to be very unwilling to do so. Right, right. Anyway, you need to bring your domain monarch founder over. How about just bringing us along? Before Yi Qingtang said anything, Jiang Yu, who was scolded by the rest for the past 10,000 years, suddenly walked forward. He stood in front of Yi Qingtang, and his tiny and chubby face was filled with discontentment and dignity. Nonsense. It is expected for a descendant of the Jiang family to bring me to the shrine for the holy water. What has this to do with any of you? It's so dangerous here that you will just lower the chance of our survival. Jiang Yu did not even bother with them. They fought countless times in the past 10,000 years just because they blamed him for the curse. Now, they saw a ray of hope after his descendant came here. How dare they ask to go to the shrine and find the holy water now? Let them live in their dreams. Old Jiang, that's not right. We have spent the past 10,000 years together. Aren't we like a big family now? Of course we need to follow you. The mature-looking child bulged his chin and spoke. Jiang Yu stared at him and said, Yu Qiong, I was still wondering why you pointed out our relationship. So this was your plan. I remembered that the ancient Yu clan always looked down on the Jiang family 10,000 years ago. What? Now you treat me as your brother? Yi Qingtang's sight landed on the mature-looking child after hearing that. He's Yu Qiong, the most powerful elder of the ancient Yu clan 10,000 years ago. Old Jiang, you're trying to make everything difficult. Yu Qiong still wanted to persuade him. Jiang Yu scoffed. Yi Qingtang could not even make the link between these two children who were quarreling and the most powerful person of the ancient Yu clan and the Jiang family 10,000 years ago. The powerful figures from the second domain were worried as well. If the age reversal curse was not broken, they would still die, not to mention regaining their power. Old Jiang, Yu Qiong's words make some sense. We have known each other for so long now. We have many Dharma treasures in our hands. If you're willing to bring us along, we can use those treasures as appreciation. Fu Su added. After spending so many years with them, Jiang Yu was clear how many treasures they owned. His expression softened, and he was more content now. Chapter 1529 At ease. Jiang Yu finally let out the anger that had accumulated inside him for all these years. Since you mentioned it, he'll acknowledge the fact that we have spent the past 10,000 years together. But you're all aware that this place is full of danger now. It will be more difficult for my descendant to bring you along. Take out whatever you have. They are not for her, okay? This is to ensure our safety. I don't want your things. Jiang Yu lifted his chin and said arrogantly. He seemed to be very kind and reasonable under his words. Everyone cursed Jiang Yu millions of times in their mind. His words sounded pleasant, but it was obvious that he wanted to extort them. However, they had to agree with his terms. No one dared to show any discontentment even though they were unwilling to do so. Who would know that the person who entered the forbidden place would be a descendant of the Jiang family? If it was one of their descendants, it would be their turn to be arrogant. Right, right. You're right, old Jiang. Sorry for troubling you. Everyone smiled and said. Jiang Yu nodded in satisfaction and glanced at Yi Qingtang. What's your name? Yi Qingtang. Your surname is Yi. Jiang Yu felt a little strange, but the totem on her clothes was the Jiang family's one. Furthermore, she admitted her identity as well. He did not ask any more. It's a little complicated. I'll explain in detail when we leave this place, Yi Qingtang said obediently. The domain monarch founder's identity in the Jiang family was impossible to surpass no matter how he looked now. Even if he was a little child now, the effect would be unimaginable when he returned to the Jiang family. Jiang Yu nodded slightly and then looked at the rest who he spent 10,000 years together. Emperor Yan, your soul-burning ring may be useful. Take out later and give it to Tang Tang. It can help to shield us from some danger. Emperor Yan, whose name was mentioned, really wanted to beat Jiang Yu up. The soul-burning ring was one of his most valuable Dharma treasures. He used it often to fight with Jiang Yu when they were first trapped here. Who would have thought? He remembered that. He was using his power for his own desire. The soul-burning ring only worked with someone who was above the holy venerate stage. It was going to be totally useless to Yi Qingtang now. What? You don't want to give it to her? It's okay. Since you don't care about everyone's safety, I think we shall forget. Jiang Yu was impatient. Okay, stop. Just take it. Emperor Yan gritted his teeth and threw his soul-burning ring in front of Jiang Yu. He could feel his heart bleeding. Jiang Yu looked at the soul-burning ring in his hand and laughed in satisfaction. He then handed over the ring to Yi Qingtang. Take it. Yi Qingtang trembled as she stared at the soul-burning ring in her hand. She heard about it before as it was one of the Emperor Yan's paragon Dharma treasures. Yi Qingtang thought she was good at extortion, but she did not expect that Jiang Yu would be even better. Jiang Yu now felt relieved after getting the treasure from Emperor Yan. He used the opportunity and named everyone who fought with him before one by one. He did not miss any Dharma treasures from them. If Yi Qingtang's extortion was a piece of cake, everyone felt that they were skinned after giving out the treasures that Jiang Yu named. They gnashed their teeth in anger, but they had no choice. If Jiang Yu was not satisfied and asked Yi Qingtang to abandon them here, they could only wait for death. Chapter 1530 At ease 3 Everyone cursed Jiang Yu for taking advantage of them, but they could only bear with it. Jiang Yu passed all the treasures he extorted to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang suddenly felt she was rich now. Jiang Yu was indeed the domain monarch founder. He really had some skills in extortion. Yu Qiong, Jiang Ye's sight landed on cunning Yu Qiong after extorting everyone else. I heard that you were fully prepared when you came to the land of infinite demons and even brought one out of the 7 guarding treasures of the ancient Yu clan. I haven't seen you use it before. Don't bother hiding it anymore. Yu Qiong could feel the cold sweat on his body from Jiang Ye's words. After everyone offered their treasures, he could only follow. He then took out a transparent bottle from his space ring that contained a sleepy, colorful worm. Soul Eater worm. Jiang Yu was also stunned after he saw the colorful worm. Yu Qiong twitched his lips slightly. Jiang Yu smiled and grabbed the bottle. He immediately passed it over to Yi Qingtang and said, Tang Tang, keep this safe. This is a paragon treasure of the ancient Yu clan. Yi Qingtang was curious as she stared at the Soul Eater worm. She heard that the ancient Yu clan had lost one of their guarding treasures in her previous life. So it was taken by Yu Qiong and was brought over to the land of infinite demons. Yi Qingtang did not know what the Soul Eater worm did. However, it must be something special if Jiang Yu was so satisfied with it. Jiang Yu felt content now after extorting everyone. Yi Qingtang had a fruitful gain. The rest looked hopeless. After getting the treasures, Jiang Yu did not hesitate. He asked Yi Qingtang to bring everyone and head towards the collapsed shrine. In the Forbidden Land, a group of children followed a skinny girl. They walked in order and looked around cautiously. At the end of the line, the 3 silly demonic bears also followed. They did not attack, instead, they were like 3 guards that protected the rest from the eyes in the darkness. Old Jiang, your descendant really has some skill. The 3 demonic bears seemed to be obeying her. Yu Qiong asked as he felt there was something weird with the 3 demonic bear earlier on. Jiang Yu humphed, of course. Whose descendant is she? Yu Qiong almost could not control his urge to strangle Jiang Yu anymore. Actually, besides Yu Qiong, Yi Qingtang also felt that it was strange. The big demon's aura on her body faded, but the three demonic bears still followed her and did not attack. It seemed that Jiang Yu could see Yi Qingtang's confusion. When there was no one around, he said softly to Yi Qingtang, "You're wondering why the three demonic bears do not attack you?" Yi Qingtang nodded. "Has your heavenly demon bloodline awakened?" Jiang Yu smiled. "Yes." Jiang Yu nodded slightly. The demonic bear is the servant of the heavenly demon. Some disciples in our Jiang family are born with the heavenly demon bloodline. They can sense the heavenly demon bloodline and treat us as one of their own kind. However, only silly creatures like the demonic bears will recognize wrongly. If it were other demons, they would tell the difference easily. Chapter 1531 At ease for Jiang Yu did not confirm Yi Qingtang's identity just from the totem, he discovered the relationship between the three demonic bears and Yi Qingtang previously. He then confirmed that Yi Qingtang had the heavenly demon bloodline and was willing to acknowledge her identity. Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. She then looked at the three charmingly naive demonic bears that were shaking their heads. Her eyes were filled with amusement. She could sense that there were many demons staring at them in the dark. However, they seemed to be scared of the three demonic bears and did not dare to come out. The Forbidden Land had been cursed by the god. Big demons were very intelligent and would not enter this place easily, so the three demonic bears should have been here even before the shrine was destroyed. Soon, Yi Qingtang and the rest arrived outside the shrine. No one had entered the Forbidden Land since Jiang Yu destroyed the shrine out of anger back then, so the shrine still looked the same as when it was destroyed. The marks on the stones revealed the years of weathering caused by rain and sunlight. Jiang Yu pointed at the original entrance of the shrine. Yi Qingtang then led the group of children over. The door of the shrine was destroyed, leaving with a small gap one could still squeeze through. Luckily, Yi Qingtang was skinny, and the children could walk through at ease. The three demonic bears were too big to enter, so they sat outside. Jiang Yu had kneeled in the shrine for thousands of years and was very familiar with its structure. Though the shrine was destroyed, he could still navigate around for Yi Qingtang. There was a tiny stream of spring water in the shrine that flowed into the palace basement to form a pool. Under the god's aura, the pool contained the holy water. They had to consume the holy water in order to break the age reversal curse on them. Jiang Yu, you didn't destroy the pool of holy water as well when you destroyed the shrine, right? Yu Qiong glanced at Jiang Yu. I don't think so. Jiang Yu was expressionless, but he was not too confident. They walked for quite a while in the mess. After walking down the broken stairs, they finally saw the underground palace Jiang Yu talked about. Many stones had fallen into the palace, but there were tiny streams in between the stones, following downwards. Is that the holy water? Yu Qiong's eyes sparkled. The group of children finally saw hope. They used their tiny legs to slowly climb across the huge stones. They took some holy water cautiously by hand and drank down. The moment the holy water entered their stomachs, the force of the curse that surrounded them suddenly disappeared. After 10,000 years, the feeling of suppression finally disappeared. They almost cried out in joy. Finally, they were not a group of children anymore. Emperor Yan drank in a rush and choked on the water. As he was enjoying the delight of the broken curse, he swore and cursed the next second. Why is my power still not recovered? Where is my strong and durable body? Emperor Yan's tiny hands touched his soft body constantly as he was waiting for his body to suddenly grow in size into the majestic domain monarch of the second domain. However, after he rubbed his body for a while, besides the soft stomach, there was no trace of muscle at all. Who says I am not a baby? One Jiang Yu, who had already drunk the holy water, glanced at Emperor Yen as if looking at a fool. The holy water only removes the curse on our bodies. If you want to be fully restored, you still have to leave this accursed place. As for your body and powers being restored, you'll have to wait a long while. The hopeful Emperor Yen looked utterly crushed when he heard Jiang Ye's words. He collapsed and sat on the ground. Everyone had heard the legend of the age reversal curse, but few had ever angered a deity enough to suffer this curse. After the curse was lifted, they could continue to grow gradually over time, but as for whether they could recover the powers that had been worn away by the age reversal curse, no one could say for sure. Emperor Yen wilted like a frost-stricken vegetable. They had been trapped for 10,000 years, lost their powerful abilities, and had been reduced to helpless children. To these powerful figures, this was a devastating blow. Now, their only hope was that the curse had been lifted. After a few years, they should be able to recover their physical bodies without any problem. But as for their abilities, if they could not recover their abilities, they would need to start cultivating again, and who knew how long that would take. The powerful figures were inwardly despondent. Then, they discovered something even more depressing. Jiang Yu had fleeced them. They thought that this forbidden ground was dangerous and that it would be better to give their treasure to him and preserve their lives. But now, this temple was perfectly safe. So they felt cheated. Everyone turned resentful eyes to Yi Qingtang and Jiang Yu, who were now loaded. Jiang Yu thought nothing of it. He had finally gotten his own back. But Yi Qingtang began to think. No one was sure if they could recover their abilities after the age reversal curse was lifted. Although everyone here was just a child, they originally were the most powerful figures in the second domain. If they recovered their abilities one day, many would recall today's events with resentment. Yi Qingtang did not wish to leave bad memories among so many powerful figures. So Yi Qingtang calmed herself, looked at the dissatisfied crowd of children, and spoke. Today, you have been released from the curse and are free to leave this place. But you must be careful when you leave. The border of the forbidden place is shrouded by thick fog, which will attack anyone exiting the place. There are also strange things in the fog which will flay you. The group of powerful figures, who had been feeling discontent, could not help but tremble inwardly at Yi Qingtang's words. They were now a group of small children with little fighting skills. If the thick fog and the things in the fog were as Yi Qingtang described, how would they get out? This place had been cursed by the deity. They could not level up here. Let's just go ahead and check out the situation. Jiang Yu was not as worried as them. After all, he still had Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang nodded. With that, she led everyone and walked to the border of the Forbidden Land under the protection of the three demonic bears. The bodies of the Jiang family disciples were still lying there. Everyone saw their tragic downfall as they lay there, disemboweled. But no one reacted. Everyone present was used to this way of dying. But Jiang Yu noticed that these men who had died recently were wearing the Jiang family robes. From their injuries and half-eaten intestines, he concluded that they must have been attacked by the demonic bears. Who says I am not a baby? Too clearly, the heavenly demon bloodline had not yet awakened in these Jiang family disciples, which was why the demonic bears had attacked them. Jiang Yu did not think much about it. He narrowed his eyes as he and the other powerful figures looked at the thick fog. They soon discovered what was odd about the thick fog. Jiang Yu said to Yi Qingtang, "Throw this corpse into the thick fog, and let's see what happens." Yi Qingtang tossed the body of the dead Jiang family disciple in. Sure enough, the moment the body entered the thick fog sank into the body, which then exploded. The group of children behind Yi Qingtang broke into a cold sweat at this gory sight. They had doubted the truth of Yi Qingtang's words, but now, they had no more doubts. They wanted to cry. How could they escape through this thick fog? Jiang Yu nodded slightly at this scene. Then, he said, you go and try it out. Just walk near it, don't enter. Yi Qingtang seemed to realize something when she heard Jiang Ye's words. So she tentatively walked near the thick fog. The thick fog did not seem to sense her and made no attempt to attack her. So that's it. Jiang Yu immediately understood. The thick fog was slowly formed from the power of the deity's curse. The residual power of the deity will attack anyone who enters, but, you drank the holy water just now. The holy water also contains the deity's power, so the fog can sense the power of the holy water and won't attack. When Yi Qingtang saw everyone furiously drinking the holy water just now, she thought it might be beneficial, so she also drank a mouthful. However, she did not sense any change. She did not expect her momentary curiosity to become the key to passing through the thick fog. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard Jiang Ye's words. Otherwise, they could never leave this place with that thing in the way. What are we waiting for? Let's go. Emperor Yan could not wait to leave this accursed place. The sooner he escaped, the sooner he could cultivate. He did not want to stay in his diminutive state, and neither did he want to remain in this hellish place one moment longer. If you want to die, go ahead. Jiang Yu glared at Emperor Yan. If Yi Qingtang had not been supporting Jiang Yu, Emperor Yan would have fought Jiang Yu there and then. Jiang Yu looked at Yi Qingtang and questioned her about the other things in the thick fog. Yi Qingtang told him about the black strings that could flay a person. Just as Yi Qingtang was talking about this, a body near the thick fog suddenly started to move. Everyone looked and saw numerous black strings rise out of the thick fog. They wrapped themselves around the body and sank into the skin. As everyone looked on, they performed a gory show, flaying the skin before their eyes. Now, Emperor Yan and the others were really on the verge of collapsing. They had finally managed to find a way to avoid the thick fog's attack, but the black strings still blocked the exit. No wonder this had become a forbidden land. Just the thick fog and the flaying black strings alone would kill large groups of people, not to speak of the demonic bears and other demonic creatures that lay in wait within. A look of amusement secretly flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes when she saw everyone's expressions. She had been waiting for this moment. But when I entered, the black strings did not attack me. I wonder if it has something to do with bloodlines, Yi Qingtang said with pretended casualness. She glanced at the group from the corner of her eye. Chapter 1534 Who says I am not a baby? 3 The moment they heard Yi Qingtang's words, everyone immediately focused on her. Their previous unhappiness over being fleeced was now replaced with a trace of hope. Yi Qingtang secretly smirked when she saw this. Although she did not know why these black strings did not attack her, they were sufficient to block the powerful figures and force them to rely on her help. The extortion, which had previously cast a shadow in their hearts, was now replaced by a feeling of good fortune. Old Jiang, since your descendant can safely walk through the area covered with black strings, why not ask her to bring us out? The moment Yu Qiong heard this, he immediately went over to Jiang Yu and started to toady up to him. Of course I can bring all of you out. All of you have been the companions of my ancestor, the domain monarch, for many years. I certainly will not abandon you, but these black strings cover the entire ground. If you follow behind me, I'm afraid you will also be attacked. The only way is for me to bring you out without your feet touching the ground. Now, Yi Qingtang assumed the attitude of a sensible junior. The cunning look she had worn while extorting them had disappeared. Although Jiang Yu was not willing to be involved with these people, he felt happy to hear Yi Qingtang's respectful words. He swept a smug look at the others. Do you see that? All of you are benefiting from my good fortune. No one was in any mood to quibble with Jiang Yu. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, one said, without our feet touching the ground. But I don't think we can fly here. How are we to? The person did not finish his sentence. He suddenly looked down at his child's body, then at the little white tiger Yi Qingtang was carrying her arms. His eyes brightened. Why don't you carry us out? This, Yi Qingtang pretended to look dismayed. All of you are my elders. Wouldn't that be rather inappropriate? Extortion was extortion. Before leaving, she must soothe everyone. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. This crowd of previously arrogant powerful figures now dismissed her protests without any reservation. The most important thing was to survive. If they had to be carried out by a junior, then so be it. Anyway, there was no one else here besides them. It did not matter as long as no one else saw them. Yi Qingtang still looked dismayed, which caused everyone to panic. They all raised their little heads and tried to persuade her. They even asked Jiang Yu to speak for them. Bah, you bunch of shameless old men. Our Tang Tang is still a young girl. Do you smelly, shameless men really want her to carry you out? If others get to hear of it, her reputation will be ruined. Jiang Yu had observed the subtle shift in Yi Qingtang's attitude and vaguely guessed at her inhibitions. So now, he put on a stern face and pretended to be angry. What shameless old men! I am now just a 3 or 4-year-old child. How could that ruin her reputation? Emperor Yan, who had always considered himself to be the best, now shamelessly puffed out his small chest to show he was just a child. That's right, that's right. I'm even younger. I'm only 2. I can't even walk properly. It doesn't matter if you carry me. Another powerful figure tried his best to widen his large, glistening eyes to show how innocent and adorable he was. In such a fatal situation, one must be able to humble oneself. Their lives were certainly more important than their principles. In order to preserve their lives, they were now a bunch of babies. Yi Qingtang looked wordlessly at this bunch of spry and elderly powerful figures. Each was shamelessly pretending to be babyish. Her gut almost burst with suppressed laughter, but she continued to pretend to look embarrassed. She looked at Jiang Yu, as if waiting for him to speak. Chapter 1535 Who says I am not a baby? For Jiang Yu was used to their shameless behavior, but he still looked disapproving. Old Jiang, I have several bottles of superior elixirs here. Tang Tang will have to work hard carrying us, so these will be useful to improve her health. Fu Su was very astute and swiftly took out a few bottles of elixirs. He did not care whether Jiang Yu agreed, he simply stood on tiptoe and stuffed them into Yi Qingtang's hand. The others immediately brought out many elixirs from their space rings. They did not wait for Jiang Yu or Yi Qingtang's consent and simply stuffed the elixirs into their hands. Even if they had been somewhat displeased to be fleeced twice in rapid succession by Yi Qingtang and Jiang Yu, they were now practically begging to be fleeced and showed no signs of reluctance. Sometimes, people were like that. They feel unhappy if they get fleeced, but if they themselves forced an unwilling party to accept something, they would feel like they got a good bargain. Yi Qingtang fully understood this, so she used this method to bleed them. Yi Qingtang was inwardly delighted when she looked at the pile of elixirs in her hand, but she continued to maintain a look of terror. How can I? Jiang Yu saw that it was about time, so he said with pretended reluctance, all right, it will probably be difficult for them to leave this place otherwise. You'll just have to work a little harder and bring them out one at a time. The two of them worked seamlessly and pretended to be extremely hesitant. The rest of the powerful figures had nothing to say. Only then did Yi Qingtang put the elixirs away. Although she continued to look reluctant, she was inwardly extremely happy. One must know that the elixirs given by these powerful figures were superior elixirs from the second domain. None of equal quality could be found, even within central mainland. She had gotten a bargain but still pretended to be coy. Yi Qingtang had certainly profited handsomely today. After a round of discussion, everyone finally acted. The demonic bears would not attack someone with the heavenly demon bloodline, so Jiang Yu remained there to hold the fort while Yi Qingtang carried the powerful figures out through the thick fog. The powerful figures were all terrified that Yi Qingtang would not be willing to carry them because there was a 10,000-year-old man within their bodies. They all tried to widen their eyes as much as possible and made an effort to present themselves as innocent and adorable young children. All the powerful figures were physically small, so Yi Qingtang had no problem carrying two of them at a time. She temporarily left the little white tiger with Jiang Yu. As she stepped into the thick fog, she carried in each arm a powerful figure previously revered and feared but now petite and adorable. The pairs of powerful figures were very cooperative. Along the way, they tried their best to act like small children despite their terror. They almost wanted to bite their fingers and act like fools. Yi Qingtang had walked through the thick fog once, so she was now familiar with the way. The crawling sound from the black strings could be heard all around. When the powerful cultivators heard it, they broke out in goosebumps. 10,000 years ago, they would not need to act so cautiously, any one of them could have broken through this barrier. When Emperor Yan was carried out, his little face turned dark red. He did not even dare to look up at Yi Qingtang. Embarrassing, this is just too embarrassing. A junior was carrying him out of here as if he was an infant. If news of this got out, he would be too embarrassed to face anyone. Ahem, don't worry. Once I get back to the second domain, I won't forget your hard work. Emperor Yan suddenly spoke. Oh, are you from the second domain? Yi Qingtang looked puzzled, as if completely unaware of Emperor Yan's identity. Emperor Yan was delighted to hear this. Well, sort of, thank goodness she doesn't recognize me. Chapter 1536 Clinging on one. Of course, Yi Qingtang knew what Emperor Yan was thinking, but she feigned ignorance. After all, he was a revered and powerful man. Now, he was reduced to a child being carried by a junior, of course it would scar him. After several trips, Yi Qingtang had carried most of the powerful figures out. After leaving the Forbidden Land, the numerous Dharma treasures returned to normal. When the powerful figures saw this, they did not wish to stay in this hellish place a moment longer. They took out their Dharma treasures that enabled them to fly, and flew off into the void without a backward glance. They might be a group of small children, but they had as many Dharma treasures as there were stars in the sky. They did not wish too many people to see them in this state, so they hurriedly flew away from this hellish place. Their first priority was to find a place to cultivate. Yi Qingtang watched the group of powerful figures leave before returning to the forbidden place. Only Jiang Yu and Yu Qiong were left in the forbidden place. Yi Qingtang reached out and picked them up while the little white tiger crouched on her shoulder. At the final moment, Yi Qingtang glanced at the three charmingly naive demonic bears. Amusement flashed across her eyes as she nodded to them in farewell. The three demonic bears were oblivious but would not leave the forbidden place. When they saw Yi Qingtang leave, they shook their heads and went their own way. Yi Qingtang took one last look at the forbidden place, and then brought Yu Qiong and Jiang Yu out. Jiang Yu and Yu Qiong were filled with emotion when they returned to their past world. Jiang Yu could clearly sense his previous powers slowly recovering. Although the speed of recovery was very slow, it filled him with joy. It was good that he could recover his powers. It would be no easy task to recultivate 10,000 years' worth of abilities. Jiang Yu knew that he could not remain in the land of infinite demons for much longer in his current state. Therefore, he asked Yi Qingtang to bring him away from this place and back to the Jiang family as soon as possible. So Yi Qingtang carried her domain monarch ancestor, who stood only knee-high, and prepared to fly into the void. But Yu Qiong, who had yet to move, pounced on Yi Qingtang and latched onto her leg. Yi Qingtang looked at the person who had been the ancient Yu clan's most powerful elder 10,000 years ago. Let go. Jiang Yu frowned slightly. He disliked the crafty Yu Qiong. No. Yu Qiong's little face looked stubborn. Old Jiang, I cannot bear to leave you on account of our many years of friendship. Why don't I follow you to the Jiang family and stay there for a while? Get lost. Jiang Yu, who was in Yi Qingtang's arms, impatiently stamped his small foot on Yu Qiong's little face. But Yu Qiong did not budge. He simply clung on even more tightly. Go back to your ancient Yu clan. Jiang Yu said as he stamped on Yu Qiong's face. Stop being so shameless. The elder of the ancient Yu clan actually wanted to follow me back to the Jiang family? No. I really cannot bear to leave you. If you don't get lost, I'll punch you. I'm going back with you even if you punch me to death. As the previous great elder of the ancient Yu clan, no one understood better than Yu Qiong how the ancient Yu clan venerated powerful figures. When Yu Qiong was at the height of his power within the clan, even the family clan had to defer to him. The other elders were even more intimidated by him. Everyone had been intimidated by Yu Qiong's powers and so had treated him with great deference. But now, Yu Qiong was just a 2 or 3-year-old child. He had yet to recover his powers. If he went back to the ancient Yu clan at this point, his old enemies would seize the opportunity to kill him. Thus, Yu Qiong definitely did not dare to return to the ancient Yu clan at this point in time. He was worthless to the ancient Yu clan. If he returned, they would simply get rid of him. Chapter 1537 Clinging on to the ancient Yu clan was the most savage one among the dominant forces. By contrast, the Jiang family was rather kind and respected their ancestors greatly. Yu Qiong was filled with envy when he saw how respectfully Yi Qingtang treated Jiang Yu. Although Yu Qiong did not speak this out loud, Yi Qingtang understood his worries very well. But Yi Qingtang had her own plans. The ancient Yu clan's powers had increased greatly after they had seized little Yu Yun. They were acting more and more arrogantly, and would soon clash with the Jiang family. She herself longed to seize little Yu Yun from the ancient Yu clan. Now, Yi Qingtang had 2 of the dominant forces, the Temple of Shadows and the Jiang family, within her grasp. However, her position was not yet stable. These 2 forces were her bargaining chips in dealing with the ancient Yu clan. Yu Qiong used to be the most famous great elder within the ancient Yu clan. He was familiar with everything connected to the ancient Yu clan. If Yu Qiong could help her bring down the ancient Yu clan, that would count as a few more bargaining chips. Ever since Yi Qingtang had come to Central Mainland, she had been plotting to obtain enough power to deal with the ancient Yu clan, be it from the Temple of Shadows or the Jiang family. Jiang Yu had also guessed Yu Qiong's inhibitions but intended to ignore him. But Yi Qingtang whispered to Jiang Yu, telling him about the ancient Yu clan's current situation. When Jiang Yu heard that the ancient Yu clan had grown very powerful and that it was eyeing the Jiang family, he also started to think. But he did not trust Yu Qiong. Great-grandfather, you and elder Yu have been friends for so many years. If he returns to the ancient Yu clan in this state, he will certainly die. Why not bring him back to the Jiang family? Yi Qingtang unexpectedly spoke up for Yu Qiong, which delighted him. But Jiang Yu frowned deeply. He did not know why this junior wanted to help Yu Qiong. Wasn't she afraid that Yu Qiong would betray them after recovering his abilities? But Yi Qingtang was not afraid that Yu Qiong would betray them. The ancient Yu clan of today was different from what it was in the past. Also, once Yu Qiong entered the Jiang family, the news of this would reach the ancient Yu clan sooner or later. An elder who had lost his powers and had some kind of connection with the domain monarch. With the ancient Yu clan's suspicious nature, the clan certainly would not take him back. In fact, to ensure that Yu Qiong did not reveal too many of their secrets, they might think of some way to dispose of him. Yu Qiong was just trying to protect himself. However, he did not understand that if he went to the Jiang family, he would be severing his ties with the ancient Yu clan. Yi Qingtang could not allow such a good opportunity to slip away. Although she knew this, she could not say it out loud now. She must trap Yu Qiong first. Jiang Yu was moved by Yi Qingtang's persuasive words and reluctantly agreed in the end. Yu Qiong looked delighted when he saw that Jiang Yu had agreed. He climbed up Yi Qingtang and crawled into the crook of her arm, looking extremely lazy. Scoundrel! Jiang Yu grunted coldly. Yu Qiong simply smiled and allowed Jiang Yu to scold him. Yi Qingtang brought the two reduced little fellows and the little white tiger, and she flew straight into the void. Within moments, they had vanished from the vicinity of the Forbidden Land. Just as Yi Qingtang was prepared to speedily leave the land of infinite demons for the Jiang family, her sharp eyes noticed a tumultuous battle scene from her vantage point in the void. She did not want to become involved. After all, the battles in the land of infinite demons were never-ending. Life and death were all fated. But Yi Qingtang was startled to see a familiar figure among them. In the midst of the intense battle was a detached-looking Jiang Qi. He was soaked in blood, and two elders of the ancient Yu clan were approaching. Chapter 1538. Clinging on. 3. Yu Qiong, who had been clinging on to Yi Qingtang, glanced downwards, and his expression immediately darkened. He was just about to go to the Jiang family, but now, there was a fight between the ancient Yu clan and the Jiang family. What was going on? Jiang Yu had never met Jiang Qi, but he frowned when he saw that this youth was unusually powerful and wore the Jiang family robes. Jiang Qi's abilities were considered outstanding within his generation. But he was now dealing with two elders from the ancient Yu clan. Also, the ancient Yu clan's powers had grown greatly after obtaining the spiritual abode. He was being forced into a hopeless situation. Even so, his handsome face showed no signs of panic. He only frowned slightly and looked solemn. When Yi Qingtang, who was in the void, saw that Jiang Qi was trapped, her expression changed. If it had been anyone else from the Jiang family, she would have left. But in her previous life, Jiang Qi had given her a chance, and Yi Qingtang had remembered the favor. However, the two elders from the ancient Yu clan were truly powerful. If Yi Qingtang opposed them directly, she would certainly be no match for them. At that point, Yi Qingtang suddenly remembered there were a few teleportation talismans among the treasures she had obtained from the old people. As she studied the situation, a plan suddenly formed in her mind. Below the void, Jiang Qi looked grim. Although he was unusually talented, he was still young. He could not possibly compare to these two elders from the ancient Yu clan. Jiang Qi, hand the soul-sucking jade over, and we'll give you an easy death. An elder from the ancient Yu clan laughed coldly. They had been hunting for treasure in the big demon's palace when the Jiang family chanced upon the soul-sucking jade, which had been lost for a long time. The soul-sucking jade was an extremely valuable Dharma treasure. When the Jiang family found it, they hid it without a word. Then, they made the most powerful youth, Jiang Qi, leave first, secretly carrying this item. But the ancient Yu clan had detected the aura from the soul-sucking jade. The two elders had tailed him, chased after him, and prepared to seize the soul-sucking jade. Dream on. Jiang Qi looked coldly at the two ancient clan elders. These two were not outstanding among the dozens of elders in the ancient Yu clan. In the past, Jiang Qi might have been able to escape if he fought hard. But with the help of the spiritual abode, the powers of these elders had grown rapidly. Either one of them could capture Jiang Qi, not to mention that there were two of them. You have a death wish. Since you want to die, we will fulfill your wish. An ancient clan elder laughed coldly. He stepped forward, preparing to kill Jiang Qi. A cold light flashed across Jiang Qi's eyes. He knew that danger was imminent and that there was no way he could avoid it. But just as the ancient clan elder was about to strike, a streak of fire suddenly fell from the sky together with a billow of thick smoke. The wave of heat blocked the ancient clan elder's vision. Amidst the smoke, Jiang Qi felt a small hand catch hold of his wrist. Let's go. The soft and delicate voice startled Jiang Qi. But before Jiang Qi could recover his wits, his body flickered. By the time he regained his footing, the scene before him had changed. He was in a completely different place. Only then did Jiang Qi turn to look at the little hand that had pulled him along. He was shocked by what he saw. The hand holding his wrist was really small. It looked like the hand of a 2-year-old child. Don't worry, they probably won't be able to catch up for a while. Chapter 1539 Distorting the Truth. One in Jiang Qi's shock, that female voice rang again. Jiang Qi looked up and saw a rather familiar-looking girl standing beside him. However, there were 2 toddlers that were about 3 years old in her arms, and one of them was grabbing his wrist. The child made eye contact with him and retracted his hand with a giggle. "You are," with a slight frown, Jiang Qi's gaze swept across that girl's clothes. He realized she was also a member of the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang revealed her identity, but Jiang Qi was still slightly dazed. Jiang Qi was not to be blamed for having no impression of Yi Qingtang. As someone from the elder cabinet, any same-aged people who were not from the elder cabinet could not enter his eyes, and he all the more did not pay any attention to others on this journey. However, Jiang Qi never thought that he would be rescued by Yi Qingtang, whom he had never seen before. "Thank you," Jiang Qi said blandly. No matter what, Yi Qingtang saved his life today. It was just that, he glanced at the 2 toddlers in her arms with a strange look. Even though Jiang Qi was a proud boy, he could not help but find it odd. Where did she find these 2 kids from? It was inconvenient for Yi Qingtang to explain, thus, she changed the topic to ask about Jiang Qi's situation, and only then did she realize that those 2 ancient clan elders were after the soul-sucking jade. Fortunately, nothing bad happened. As Yi Qingtang was carrying Jiang Yu and Yu Qiong and could not stay there for long, while Jiang Qi was injured, they immediately decided to return to the Jiang residence first. Due to the young toddlers and injuries in the group, their journey had to be delayed. Several days had already passed when they were out of the land of infinite demons. At the same time, an oppressive air loomed in the Jiang residence. Seated at the top position, the domain monarch tightly locked his brows together as he looked at Jiang Shangyu and the rest with a serious expression. The Jiang family suffered a considerable loss in this expedition to the land of infinite demons. Half of the total number of people that Jiang Shangyu brought lost their lives there. Luckily, they still gained plenty of good items in the great demon's palace this time. Yet, even so, the outcome was still beyond the domain monarch's expectations. The domain monarch's expression darkened at this moment. In the hall, the injured Jiang Sun was ghastly pale as she glared at Jiang Qin and the others, who were perfectly fine. "You said that they wanted to kill Tang Tang." The domain monarch looked at Jiang Sun and asked. Jiang Sun nodded. If she was not injured right now, she would definitely give Jiang Sun a tight slap. She had just returned, and in consideration of Jiang Lang's rashness and Moe's poor health, she did not tell them about Yi Qingtang's disappearance. She only told the domain monarch about everything. Facing Jiang Sun's accusation, Jiang Sun, however, sneered and responded. "You're so funny, aunt. We want to kill Yi Qingtang." She was clearly the playful one. Fifth great-uncle had already stated that the land of infinite demons was a dangerous place, but Yi Qingtang refused to be disciplined and completely ignored fifth great-uncle's orders. Not only did she act on her own, she even wanted to barge into the forbidden land and cause Jiang Qiu and the rest to follow her in as they were worried about her safety. I haven't blamed Yi Qingtang for acting on her own and implicating many other Jiang family members, but you're even accusing me now. Jiang Qin did watch those people from the Jiang family chase Yi Qingtang into the forbidden area. Although she was shocked and waited outside for a while, she was still worried that it would implicate her and thus quickly gathered with Jiang Shun and the rest. When Jiang Sun learned that Yi Qingtang entered the forbidden area, she hurried over to check. Jiang Shun and the rest also went along. After waiting for half a day, not a single Jiang family member came out. It was then that they returned. Chapter 1540 Distorting the Truth 2 Tang Tang is young and has never entered the land of infinite demons. How would she dare to enter the forbidden area on her own? If you all did not push her to a corner and leave her with no other routes left, why would she enter a place that means absolute death? Jiang Sun turned pale from anger at Jiang Qin's ability to distort the truth. Yi Qingtang has been wandering outside since young with no one to discipline her and acts lawlessly. She just returned to the Jiang family yet stirred up so much trouble. Father may not believe my words, but the fifth great-uncle's words are believable. Afterward, Jiang Qin looked straight at Jiang Shangyu and spoke. Please do me justice, fifth great-uncle. Jiang Shangyu looked up at the domain monarch and said, the truth is as Qin said. Yi Qingtang is extremely mischievous and simply refused to be disciplined. So be it if she threw her life away, but she implicated numerous people from the Jiang family. This girl is insane and insolent, and this is also caused by the poor teachings of Jiang Lang and his wife. Jiang Sun's chest constricted in pain from the fury. Jiang Shangyu was the one who wanted Yi Qingtang to go to the land of infinite demons back then. Now that an accident happened, all the blame was pushed to Yi Qingtang and her parents. It was unknown whether Yi Qingtang was alive now, but they still wanted to drag Jiang Lang and his wife down. The domain monarch had an ugly expression. The Jiang family's loss from this expedition to the land of infinite demons was far from imagined, and it was still regrettable even though they brought back many Dharma treasures. Elder Zu's expression did not look too well either. The cabinet elder seated beside the domain monarch frowned slightly. The cabinet elder did have some plans for Yi Qingtang, who possessed the mutated heavenly demon bloodline. He originally wanted to see if there was still a possibility to train her using this land of infinite demons expedition, yet unexpectedly, she entered the forbidden area. The forbidden area was extremely perilous, and naturally, no one would believe that Yi Qingtang could still make it out alive. The cabinet elder could not help but sigh at that thought. Ultimately, the first 10+ years of her life were wasted outside, and she missed the best time to train. It was truly Jiang family's loss to lose such a mutated heavenly demon bloodline. He originally thought that if Yi Qingtang safely returned from the land of infinite demons and performed well, she could attempt the elder cabinet trial. If she passed, perhaps she could be accepted into the elder cabinet and be trained there. Yet ultimately, it did not go as planned. Where is Jiang Qi? Although the cabinet elder had regrets, he was more or less prepared. Compared to Yi Qingtang who grew up outside, he was more concerned about Jiang Qi, who trained in the elder cabinet since young. Jiang Qi did not return together with them as well this time. Jiang Qi left with the soul-sucking jade ahead of us. I believe he will return in no time, Jiang Shun said. The cabinet elder nodded slightly. Meanwhile, Jiang Sun looked like she wanted to kill Jiang Qin. Yet, Jiang Qin had a fearless expression. Although there was an accident, Yi Qingtang was already dead, and no one would be able to disturb you now. Currently, Jiang Shun, Jiang Shangyu, and the others testified the same thing, and even if Jiang Sun could speak very well, she had insufficient evidence and could not do anything about them. Just as Jiang Qin was gloating secretly, Jiang Lang and his wife came to the main hall after hearing from somewhere that the group that went to the land of infinite demons had returned. However, after they searched everywhere, Yi Qingtang was nowhere to be seen. On top of that, they even heard Jiang Qin slandering of Yi Qingtang from the servants. Jiang Lang rushed to the hall immediately. Jiang Qin, I knew that you were up to no good. Jiang Lang stood in an aggressive manner, wishing he could hack Jiang Qin with one shot. Jiang Lang, do not make a scene, said the domain monarch in a deep voice as he furrowed his brows slightly. Chapter 1541 Distorting the Truth 3 Father, Yi Qingtang's ignorance and arrogance are due to the poor discipline of Jiang Lang and his wife. Now that she implicated others in the clan and caused the death of Jiang family members, Jiang Lang and Moe cannot escape the blame. Jiang Qin immediately accused Jiang Lang and Moe when she noticed them. Jiang Sun hurried forward and stopped the rash Jiang Lang. Lang, don't cause trouble in front of your father. They did not have any evidence right now, and they would only be in the wrong if Jiang Lang really used force. Jiang Lang, you're really getting more insolent. How dare you use force in front of the domain monarch? Jiang Shun shouted coldly. I will not tolerate you all slandering my daughter like this. Jiang Lang reproached. Slander? You should be glad that Yi Qingtang died in the land of infinite demons. Otherwise, given her personality, God knows how much trouble she can cause to the Jiang family. It'd be such a disaster if such a troublesome person continues staying in the Jiang family. Jiang Qin snickered. The domain monarch frowned slightly and was about to scold Jiang Qin for speaking irresponsibly. But a voice rang. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed then. Since time immemorial, it's known that a bad person never dies, and this is not said without a reason. Everyone in the hall was stunned the moment that voice was heard. Yi Yu, who had been snickering secretly, was alarmed when she heard the familiar voice. She instinctively looked in the direction of the voice along with the rest. All she saw was a blood-stained figure walking toward the courtyard slowly. Yi Qingtang's clothes were tainted red by blood. As she walked in slowly, her dark hair danced in the cool breeze as a seeming smile played on her lips. Tang Tang, Moe widened her eyes in delight when she saw her returning daughter. As Moe sprinted towards Yi Qingtang, her eyes glistened with tears while she looked at her daughter she just regained. Everyone in the hall was evidently astonished. After hearing what Jiang Qin and the rest said earlier on, Yi Qingtang entered the forbidden area of the land of infinite demons, thus, they concluded that Yi Qingtang definitely died. However, never had they thought that Yi Qingtang, who entered the forbidden area, could actually make it back alive. At this very moment, the expressions on Jiang Qin's and Yi Yu's faces were the most interesting of the bunch. With slightly widened eyes, they looked at Yi Qingtang as though they were looking at a ghost. How can it be? Jiang Qin's eyes were filled with surprise. She clearly saw Yi Qingtang entering the forbidden area from afar. How did she make it back alive? Jiang Lang heaved a great sigh of relief when he saw Yi Qingtang's safe return. Even Jiang Sun sighed lightly as a weight on her heart disappeared. Tang Tang, you're all right. Didn't you enter the forbidden area? Moe looked at Yi Qingtang in surprise and happiness. Yi Qingtang smiled and nodded. Mother, I did enter the forbidden area, but aren't I safely back now? Don't worry. Although she did not share any blood ties with Moe, the warmth of being missed by someone sent a warm feeling to Yi Qingtang's heart. Moe wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and held on to Yi Qingtang's wrists tightly. Jiang Qin was astonished to see Yi Qingtang. Exchanging a surprised look with Jiang Shun, Jiang Qin snickered and asked, Yi Qingtang, where's Jiang Qiu and the others? Jiang Qiu and the others were the Jiang family disciples who chased Yi Qingtang into the forbidden area. Yi Qingtang looked up and said, dead. Jiang Qin smirked and shouted coldly. Yi Qingtang, you're so cruel. How dare you kill fellow disciples of the same clan? Chapter 1542 I am the evidence 1 Jiang Qin. What nonsense are you saying? Moe's expression darkened immediately. However, Jiang Qin ignored Moe's question and turned to kneel before the domain monarch. Father, Jiang Qiu and the rest entered the forbidden area with Yi Qingtang. They did it out of goodwill but were unexpectedly killed by Yi Qingtang. Jiang Qin spoke so well that it seemed as though she witnessed it for herself. Jiang Qin, what you said is truly ridiculous. You didn't even enter the forbidden area. How do you know Tang Tang has something to do with their deaths? Jiang Sun said. Jiang Qin was prepared from the start. They entered the forbidden area together with Yi Qingtang, so why was Yi Qingtang the only one who made it out of the forbidden area alive? Yi Qingtang's skills are the poorest among all of them. If even Yi Qingtang could leave the forbidden area, obviously Jiang Qiu and the others would be able to. However, they died, and Yi Qingtang survived. On the way there, Yi Qingtang got into a conflict with them, and soon afterward, they entered the forbidden area together. Given Yi Qingtang's wickedness, how could she leave the forbidden area on her own without sacrificing their lives? It was indeed shocking that Yi Qingtang could make it out of the forbidden area alive, but what Jiang Qin said was not implausible. The domain monarch did not make an arbitrary decision on this matter and merely looked at Yi Qingtang. Did Jiang Qiu and the others enter the forbidden area with you? Yes. Yi Qingtang nodded. Did you see them die? The domain monarch questioned. Yi Qingtang knew that the domain monarch was not a biased person and naturally recounted how those Jiang family members died in the forbidden area. The domain monarch's expression darkened as he listened. Yet, Jiang Qin scoffed and said, "How ridiculous. Yi Qingtang, do you think all of us are fools? If the forbidden area was as dangerous as you said, why are you the only lucky one? Not a single demon could hurt you. Only you made it out of the forbidden area alive. Of course whatever you say will be it. Jiang Qin, stop making false accusations. You said it just now as well. Tang Tang's skills are lower than theirs. How could she kill them?" Jiang Sun countered. Jiang Qin cast Yi Qingtang a look and said nonchalantly, "Jiang Qiu and the rest don't have their guard up against Yi Qingtang. Furthermore, they were in a dangerous place. If Yi Qingtang snuck up on them, how could they know? It is easy to find a stick to beat a dog." Jiang Qin said, "Whatever I said has evidence. She's not the only one who entered the forbidden area but is the only one who made it out." Yi Qingtang was already domineering when in the Jiang family and caused so many troubles. If not for her, how would Jiang Qiu and the rest die in the forbidden area? You said that they were not killed by Yi Qingtang, but what evidence do you have? Jiang Sun glared at Jiang Qin and direly wished to strangle this woman, who was actively distorting the truth. Yet, Yi Qingtang appeared expressionless at Jiang Qin's accusations and merely looked at her with a smile. "Aunt, even Yi Qingtang is not saying anything. I think that she's clearly guilty. Don't shield her blindly out of your favoritism for Jiang Lang and lose sight of the Jiang family rules," Jiang Qin said proudly. Yi Qingtang would have no evidence either even if she denied the claims. Regardless of how Yi Qingtang came out, the deaths of Jiang Qiu and the rest must be blamed on Yi Qingtang. The elders had a complicated look as well. They were indeed surprised that Yi Qingtang made it out of the forbidden area alive, but the deaths of the others were suspicious. However, what exactly happened in the forbidden area was unknown to them. Chapter 1543 I am the evidence too. In addition, Jiang Shangyu pointed out Yi Qingtang's undisciplined behavior earlier on. The current clues were disadvantageous to her. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Yi Qingtang, and even the cabinet elders looked at her with a rather complicated expression. "Greetings, domain monarch and all elders." Suddenly, Jiang Qi walked in slowly from the courtyard. His complexion was slightly pale, and he was clearly not in a good condition. Following behind him were two 2- or 3-year-old toddlers, who walked in while shaking their heads. One of them had his hands behind his back like an elderly while the other had a serious expression that seemed like that of dissatisfaction. "Jiang Qi, you're back." A smile fleeted across the cabinet elder's eyes when he saw Jiang Qi. However, everyone at the scene had a strange look when they noticed the two strange little fellows behind him. Where did these two toddlers pop out from? "Jiang Qi, these two are?" the domain monarch asked. Jiang Qi did not know how to reply either. He came back with Yi Qingtang but knew nothing about these two kids. However, before Jiang Qi spoke, that toddler with a serious expression suddenly walked forward. The serious expression on his young and soft face made one want to laugh no matter how they looked at him. He looked around his surroundings. He heard Jiang Qin's slanders of Yi Qingtang when he walked in just now, and his face darkened immediately. Speaking in an imposing manner with his childish tone, he said, "You wanted evidence just now. I am the evidence." "What?" Jiang Qin was baffled by the toddler who appeared suddenly. What does he mean by, "I am the evidence"? "Jiang Qi, who are these two people?" the elder cabinet asked. "I don't know either. When I saw them, they were already with Yi Qingtang." Jiang Qi replied honestly. Everyone's expression turned serious immediately. Yi Qingtang's matter had not even been cleared up, yet she even brought two unknown children back. "They're probably the illegitimate children of a certain shameless person," Jiang Qin said with a chuckle. However, the moment she said that, the toddler at the front had a dark expression, and he cast Jiang Qin a cold look. "Insolent! Who do you think you are? How dare you slander me?" Yi Qingtang silently lit an incense stick for Jiang Qin, who courted death. Completely unaware of the disaster befalling her, Jiang Qin still had a fearless attitude as she ignored the toddler's scolding and simply looked at the domain monarch. "Father, Yi Qingtang is suspected of killing her fellow clan members, yet she even brought these two dirty illegitimate children back today. If she is allowed to cause trouble in the Jiang family, the Jiang family will really end up in a disaster." Illegitimate child Wan Yuqiong's lips twitched. "You are the dirty one. You are the illegitimate child." Illegitimate child 2 Jiang Ye's face darkened to the extreme. "Jiang Duantian, so this is the Jiang family member that you brought up." Everyone was stunned by Jiang Ye's words. Jiang Duantian was the name of the domain monarch. Even seniors like Jiang Shangyu never called it since Jiang Duantian became the domain monarch. Even the domain monarch was stunned for a moment. "How bold of you! Who do you think you are? How dare you call the domain monarch's full name? Yi Qingtang, this is an illegitimate child that you brought back." Jiang Qin shouted coldly. "Who do I think I am?" Jiang Ye's lips curled up into a sneer, and he subsequently took out the golden seal that symbolized the domain monarch, which he slammed before Jiang Qin. Chapter 1544 I am the evidence 3 Everyone stood up from surprise once the domain monarch's golden seal was out. "This is, the domain monarch founder's golden seal." The cabinet elder widened his eyes in disbelief as he looked at the golden seal, and then at Jiang Yu astonishingly. When Jiang Yu left the Jiang family, Jiang Qin and the others of this generation were not born yet. Naturally, they had never seen this domain monarch founder before, much less Jiang Ye's golden seal. They noticed that the golden seal was similar to the domain monarch's but did not think much about it. "Who are you trying to scare by taking such a thing out?" "Ha," Jiang Qin scoffed. She was about to make a few more sarcastic comments, but the domain monarch, who had been silent all this time, suddenly raised his hand and gave Jiang Qin a tight slap. Jiang Qin was stupefied by the domain monarch's slap as she held her swollen face and looked at the enraged domain monarch in shock. Even Yi Yu was startled and turned pale. On the other hand, Jiang Shengyi's eyes were filled with astonishment upon seeing that golden seal. Only 2 Jiang family domain monarch golden seals were produced, one was in the possession of the current domain monarch and the other with the domain monarch founder, Jiang Yu. No one could make an imitation of this golden seal. "Father," Jiang Qin looked at the domain monarch in shock. However, the domain monarch suddenly stood up and glared at Jiang Qin furiously. "Scoundrel!" Then, with everyone's eyes on him, he walked straight forward, got on one knee, and paid respects to that toddler in a respectful manner. "Greetings, domain monarch founder." "What?" Everyone was stunned by the domain monarch's greeting. Soon after, Jiang Shangyu and the cabinet elder also walked forward and kneeled on a knee to that little toddler. "Greetings, domain monarch founder." As the people with the highest authority in the Jiang family kneeled before the little toddler, everyone else was left in endless shock. I did not teach my daughter well. Please punish me, Domain Monarch founder. The Domain Monarch apologized humbly with a tight frown. Back when I passed the Domain Monarch position to you, I hoped that you could lead the Jiang family and stabilize its status. I did not expect that this would be how you lead the Jiang family. How extremely disappointing. Jiang Yu squinted his eyes slightly as he looked at the senior members of the Jiang family, who were all kneeling on the ground. Before Jiang Yu left the Jiang family, the current Domain Monarch was still rather young. Jiang Yu favored his endowment and thus trained him for a long time and passed the Domain Monarch position to him. I am guilty of failing to meet your expectations, Domain Monarch founder, the Domain Monarch said. Humph. Jiang Yu scoffed and subsequently walked up to the Domain Monarch's seat. Jiang Qin, Jiang Shun, and the rest were completely dumbfounded. Never would they have thought that this 2 or 3-year-old looking toddler was actually the rumored Domain Monarch founder of the Jiang family. Didn't the Domain Monarch founder already leave the second domain? Why did he return suddenly? And why did he become like this? Everyone was filled with astonishment but did not dare to speak before the Domain Monarch founder. They merely treated it as a minimizing effect of a special cultivation technique that he used. At this moment, no matter how unwilling Jiang Qin and the rest were to believe Jiang Ye's identity, the Domain Monarch and other elders had verified this unbelievable fact. All color was drained from Jiang Qin's face in a second. Extreme uneasiness crept into her heart. What did she say just now? She actually dared to say that the Domain Monarch founder was Yi Qingtang's illegitimate child, and an illegitimate bastard. Just thinking of what she said just now, Jiang Qin felt her legs weaken, and she almost fainted from the overwhelming fear. How she wished she could go back in time and slap her past self. A great support. Jiang Yu sat in the seat of honor. Although he looked like a child, no one dared to show any trace of disrespect. They all looked deferential and fearful. Jiang Qin was inwardly panicking but forced herself to look calm. She secretly retreated a few steps, planning to lie low. Jiang Shangyu. Jiang Yu suddenly spoke. Jiang Shangyu, whom even the Domain Monarch deferred to, was awestricken when faced with Jiang Yu. Here I am. Jiang Shangyu stepped forward. I ordered you to take charge of the Jiang family's Hall of Justice. Is this how you have taught the juniors the rules? Jiang Yu asked with a frosty laugh. Jiang Shangyu broke out in a cold sweat. In terms of family hierarchy, Jiang Yu was more senior than him. When Jiang Yu was the Jiang family Domain Monarch, Jiang Shangyu had just been made an elder. Later on, Jiang Yu had favored him, so he allowed Jiang Shangyu to enter and lead the Hall of Justice. Jiang Shangyu had held pride in himself that he had not let Jiang Yu down. When he was the elder in charge of the Hall of Justice, he had scrupulously fulfilled his duties and was proud of that fact. After all, the Domain Monarch founder had personally appointed him to be the elder of the Hall of Justice. But Jiang Shangyu had not expected his illustrious reputation to be shattered by Jiang Qin's arrogance and rudeness. And before the Domain Monarch founder whom he venerated, no less. I have been remiss. Domain Monarch founder, please punish me. Although Jiang Shangyu had given up his position as elder of the Hall of Justice, he still looked thoroughly ashamed in the face of Jiang Ye's reprimand. After many years in a lofty position, Jiang Shangyu had slowly lost his initial attitude. The Domain Monarch founder had liked his fairness and sense of justice, but now, he had become utterly corrupt. Jiang Shangyu did not even have the courage to lift his head to face Jiang Yu. Since you are aware of this, according to the Jiang family rules, what is the punishment for offending an elder and insulting the dignity of the Domain Monarch? Jiang Ye's gaze turned sharp. No one had dared to be so rude to him since he had reached maturity. Today, the juniors in his family had dared to point at him and call him an illegitimate bastard. The moment Jiang Yu spoke, Jiang Qin, who had been trying to obviate her own existence, turned dead white. Jiang Shangyu did not dare to protect her in the presence of Jiang Yu. Furthermore, he could not erase the guilt and terror in his heart. Based on the rules, the person should be beaten with a rod 100 times, and his name erased from the clan records. He is to be driven from the Jiang family, never to return. No one could insult the dignity of the domain monarch, not even a Jiang family member. Jiang Shengyu's every word pierced Jiang Qin's heart like a sharp knife. Her eyes widened in terror as she looked at Jiang Yu, sitting in the place of honor, with a chilly expression. Thump. Jiang Qin's face showed no trace of her previous pride and arrogance. She kneeled on the floor, terrified, and quivered as she looked at Jiang Yu. Her voice choked up as she spoke. Please, Domain Monarch Founder, have mercy. I know I was foolish. Please, Domain Monarch Founder, have mercy. 100 strokes from the Jiang Family Hall of Justice would half kill her. But what truly terrified Jiang Qin was being driven out of the Jiang family. Even Yi Yu, who had remained silently by the side, was so terrified that her fingertips were shaking, not to mention Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin is being driven out of the Jiang family? Then what will happen to me? In the entire Jiang family, Yi Yu relied the most on Jiang Qin. If Jiang Qin left, she would have lost her strongest supporter. Jiang Yu remained expressionless. The domain monarch looked at his ashen daughter and was moved with pity. Chapter 1546 A Great Support 2 Jiang Qin is my daughter. I have not taught her well and should be punished as well. Please, Domain Monarch Founder, have compassion on my daughter and let her off this once. I will certainly discipline her firmly in the future. If there is to be any punishment, I will bear it on behalf of my daughter. The domain monarch spoke sincerely, pleading for Jiang Yu to show mercy. Father, Jiang Qin looked at the domain monarch with tears shimmering in her eyes. Her eyes were filled with terror. Jiang Yu looked at the domain monarch kneeling before him. He had thought well of this new domain monarch when he had chosen the latter. Along the way, Yi Qingtang had told him about some of the Jiang family's matters. And he knew that the domain monarch had done quite well. This time, I will not drive her from the Jiang family for your sake. But she cannot escape punishment. Jiang Yu said sternly. Domain Monarch Founder, thank you for your grace. The domain monarch only secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard the domain monarch founder's words. The truth was that he had also been extremely angry that Jiang Qin had insulted the domain monarch founder. Humph. Jiang Yu grunted coldly. His sharp eyes landed on Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin broke out in a cold sweep when his eyes swept over her. She reverently lowered her head and did not dare to look at him anymore. In that case, she may remain in the Jiang family. She is to be disciplined with 100 strokes of the rod, then put in the cliff of reflection to reflect on her misdeeds, Jiang Yu said calmly as he meted out Jiang Qin's sentence. The cliff of reflection was where the Jiang family punished people. It was an extremely cold place. Unless the person who entered it was strong enough to resist its effect, they would be unable to use spirit energy to obtain warmth and would have to endure the extreme cold every day. Furthermore, although Jiang Yu had allowed Jiang Qin to remain in the Jiang family, if she really was beaten 100 times with the rod and all 100 strokes were heavy ones, Jiang Qin would certainly suffer after being thrown into the cliff of reflection to repent. Even worse was that Jiang Yu had said Jiang Qin was to be imprisoned in the cliff of reflection, but he had not stated the term of her sentence. If Jiang Yu did not release Jiang Qin, she might spend her entire life in that cold and miserable place. Everyone understood this, but no one dared to question his judgment. Jiang Qin also understood that she was about to face punishment, but she had no choice. If she resisted, she would be driven out of the Jiang family. And her name would be erased from the Jiang family. Thank you, Domain Monarch founder. The Domain Monarch was satisfied with this outcome. Even he felt that Jiang Qin should be punished for insulting the Domain Monarch founder. Jiang Yu waved his hand in dismissal. He clearly could not be bothered to bandy more words with him. The Domain Monarch founders personally ordered Jiang Qin's punishment by the rod to be carried out immediately. Elder Meng, the current elder in charge of the Hall of the Justice, came to the hall to mete out the punishment. Jiang Qin's status in the Jiang family was quite high, and the Domain Monarch favored her. Thus, everyone in the Jiang family usually deferred to her. But now, the Domain Monarch founder had personally decided on this punishment, and it was to be carried out in front of everyone. The men from the Hall of Justice were too afraid to go easy on her. A moment later, the heavy metal rod glimmered as it rose and fell, hitting Jiang Qin with a smacking noise. Under Jiang Ye's close watch, the men from the Hall of Justice exerted their full strength, and every stroke bit into the flesh. After 20 strokes, Jiang Qin's skin had split open, and her flesh had turned to pulp. The ground was stained with her blood, and her face was pallid. Yi Yu, who was standing by the side, turned white with terror when she saw the previously arrogant Jiang Qin being beaten into a pulp. Chapter 1547. A great support. 3. Tuoba Yao was currently away from the Jiang house. Everyone present was a member of the Jiang family, and no one dared to stop Jiang Yu after he had spoken. Jiang Qin had fallen into a dead faint before the 100 strokes were over. The men meting out the punishment did not dare to stop. They continued until they had given the full 100 strokes. After the punishment was over, Jiang Qin was barely breathing, and it seemed as if she was about to die. Yi Yu and Jiang Shun, who were watching from the sidelines, were horrified. Jiang Shun was secretly rejoicing that he had not spoken just now, otherwise, he would be the one that was being beaten half to death. Throw her into the cliff of reflection. Jiang Ye's expression did not flicker. He simply ordered the men to bring Jiang Qin to the cliff of reflection. Everyone obeyed. Yi Yu watched as the men carried Jiang Qin away, still dripping with blood. She was so frightened, her legs were shaking. She had thought that Yi Qingtang would certainly die this time. She did not expect this turn of events. Not only had Yi Qingtang survived, but Yi Yu's biggest source of support, Jiang Qin, had been heavily injured and thrown into the cliff of reflection for an indeterminate length of time. Everyone can get up, Jiang Yu said sternly, and his gaze swept over them. Only then did everyone arise. Did you say that this girl tried to kill her family members? Jiang Yu changed the subject now that the evil-mouthed person had been dealt with. Although he had not returned to the Jiang family for a long time, he was very pleased with Yi Qingtang, whom he had met recently. If not for Yi Qingtang, he would still be trapped in the forbidden place, waiting for many years until the age reversal curse wore out. I only suspect, everyone had just seen Jiang Qin suffer a terrible beating and did not dare to be too adamant. They had heard Jiang Qi say that Jiang Yu had returned with Yi Qingtang, so those who had been accusing Yi Qingtang did not dare to spout nonsense any longer. Ah, of the people who went to the land of infinite demons with you, who entered the forbidden land and saw her kill someone? Jiang Yu asked with a cold smile. No one. Jiang Shun and Jiang Shangyu gathered up their courage to reply. I don't know why my Jiang family members currently enjoy maligning people. All of you are truly becoming more and more capable. Although Jiang Yu was smiling as he spoke, his cold tone sent chills down everyone's spines. Jiang Shun and the others broke out in a cold sweat. They felt a vague sense of unease. None of you entered the Forbidden Land, but I did. I met this girl in the Forbidden Land. As for those Jiang family members, I saw their bodies with my own eyes. The injuries on their bodies were clearly caused by bites from the demonic bears. What does it have to do with her? Yi Qingtang had saved Jiang Yu. He naturally wanted to repay her. Also, Every word he spoke was absolutely true. How could he watch them malign and frame Yi Qingtang? The moment Jiang Yu spoke, Jiang Shun's and the others' expressions turned ugly. No wonder Jiang Yu had said that he was the proof when he appeared. But Jiang Shun quickly recovered and said, since the domain monarch founder witnessed it personally, of course, Yi Qingtang will be cleared of all charges. I felt that Jiang Qin's speculations were too nebulous. Fortunately, the domain monarch founder was present, so we will not have any misunderstandings with Yi Qingtang. A wise man knew which way the wind was blowing. Jiang Shun had no wish to follow Jiang Qin's footsteps. Everyone nodded eagerly. After all, considering the domain monarch status, he had no reason to shield a junior. Of course, no one would doubt his word. Jiang Lang and his wife were delighted that Jiang Yu had provided evidence. However, they were curious as to how Yi Qingtang had met the domain monarch founder. Chapter 1548. The situation changes one, but everyone quickly understood. They wondered how Yi Qingtang, with her abilities, had managed to get out of the forbidden place alive. But now that they heard Jiang Ye's words, everything seemed to make sense. The domain monarch founder was so powerful. He must have met Yi Qingtang by chance in the Forbidden Land. After learning that Yi Qingtang was a member of the Jiang family, he had brought her out. So it seemed that Yi Qingtang had been fortunate enough to meet the domain monarch founder. With Jiang Yu as a witness, no one dared to accuse Yi Qingtang of anything. Everyone naturally wanted to celebrate the return of the domain monarch founder. Jiang Lang and his wife, who had been deeply worried, finally relaxed now that their daughter had returned safely and had even forged some kind of connection with the domain monarch founder. Jiang Yu ordered Yi Qingtang to rest while he familiarized himself with the Jiang family's current situation. Yi Qingtang's luck had changed. With Jiang Yu behind her, her life in the Jiang family would be much better. Some were glad while others were worried. Yi Qingtang had found safety, but Yi Yu's side was in turmoil. Yi Yu was panicking, but she forced herself to remain calm. When she returned to her room, her expression was extremely ugly. Yi Sun, who had been waiting for good news, was puzzled when she saw this. In the end, Yi Sun learned from Yi Yu that not only had Yi Qingtang survived, but she had even returned with the Jiang family's domain monarch founder. In addition, Jiang Qin had a run-in with the domain monarch founder, and had been punished and thrown into the cliff of reflection. Yi Sun's face turned completely white. Jiang Qin was Yi Yu's greatest source of support in the Jiang family. Now that Jiang Qin was imprisoned in the cliff of reflection, Yi Yu's standing in the Jiang family would probably. Elder sister Yuer, now that Aunt Qin has been shut into the cliff of reflection, Yi Sun could not help but panic. She enjoyed a comfortable life in the Jiang family because of Yi Yu, who had relied on Jiang Qin. Yi Yu looked grim but remained silent. She clenched her fists, which were placed before her on the table. A malicious look flashed across her eyes. She did not expect Yi Qingtang to turn the situation around. Leave the residence immediately. Yi Yu raised her head and looked at Yi Sun. Yi Sun looked bewildered. Leave the residence. Uncle returned to his clan to deal with some matters. Now that Aunt Qin has been imprisoned, only Uncle can help. You must immediately leave for the Tuoba house and tell Uncle what happened to Aunt Qin. Yi Yu's eyes flashed. Jiang Qin's husband, Tuoba Yao, came from a powerful clan, and the couple got along well. Jiang Qin would not have fallen so low if Tuoba Yao had been present. When Yi Sun heard Yi Yu's words, she immediately grasped what Yi Yu meant. Yi Yu was a child of the Jiang family, but no one cared for her. The Jiang family had so many descendants, so who would pay any attention to her? Yi Yu's only hope of retaining her place within the Jiang family was to save Jiang Qin. Yi Sun hurriedly packed her belongings and hastily left the residence in search of Tuoba Yao. Meanwhile, the inner sect elder and the domain monarch were discussing the Jiang family's current situation with the domain monarch founder. The two of them held high positions in the Jiang family, but they treated Jiang Yu with great respect. When Jiang Yu heard about the Jiang family's current situation and that the ancient Yu clan seemed to be on the rise, he looked grim but did not say anything. The Great Martial Arts Championship will occur in half a year. All the major clans will send the best of their younger generation to fight. Did you finish making preparations? Jiang Yu had been shut away for 10,000 years, but he had learned from the domain monarch that some rules in central mainland had remained the same. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.